Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to WOR. I bet you never thought you'd see me here again, but here I am. Nonetheless, G2 Luke managed to drag me from whatever, vicinity I was staying in. But yes, I'm here, and this time with Lewis McGlade, and this time it's not ESLR 1. This time around, it is going to be the Ironman League, Lewis, and it's a pleasure to be back alongside you as well. Different complexion. I'm not used to seeing you with F1 cars. This is fantastic. Saw you last week, though. You did obviously carry us through round one. We witnessed certainly a splendid race. It went to, I believe, B. Danny took pole, but it was Dylan Moran who actually took the victory last time out in stellar fashion, nonetheless. But we go again tonight, and we're yet to find out what the track is, but we will find out soon enough. So, yes, folks, my name is George Morgan. Joining me, Lewis McGlade. Lewis, how are you, sir?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm devastated to be back in the comments booth with you, but do you know what? It'll do. It'll do. I had a great time last week, and obviously, like you said,
without me.
Yeah, no, it was honestly I thought the commentary was much better, but now it's about to be a real downhill struggle, depending on what race we're going to get. But do you know what? I think we're in for a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last week, and again, weather's going to be crazy in this qualifying. It's the one-shot qualifying, so it's always a bit. Let's call it dramatic, shall we?
Yes, I think dramatic is definitely the word, and we're going to be jumping straight into that very soon. I can already tell you that everyone has already joined the lobby, so yes, we'll have to wait and see who comes out on top. In terms of the track, it looks like it's currently showing up as Bahrain. Whether that is the case, we will, of course, let you know, folks, but it certainly looks that way right now. And obviously, with weather that comes in, though I have heard the weather does turn very wet, I can't imagine we're going to get wet weather at Bahrain. Doesn't really make much sense, does it, Lewis?
Well, it didn't happen in WEC. There was was it free practice too, something like that?
Isn't it that they get it? Don't they get it like one day? I think they get it like one day in the calendar. Yeah, one or two in the calendar year. So, I mean, I'm not sure whether you call that a lottery if it falls on. Just happens to fall on a race weekend for WEC, but buy your tickets, folks, if that ever happens. But yeah, obviously we got some great talents, of course, racing here tonight. We'll take you through the lineup regardless, because I think that's what's important. We need to obviously check out who's racing tonight. Let's kick things off with Danny Beresnay and Jana Wotmir at Mercedes. We have at Red Bull Daniel Zenograjski and Bence Ilesh, as well as Istvan Pukki, Dylan Warren at Ferrari, Gabor Takash in the Alfa Romeo seat alongside Jabal Svenzel. He's going to be standing alongside him too. Ben Konyi lines up as well, who is also touted for a F1 Esports seat in his own right. David Vinch as well, joining him as a reserve. Daniel Bench as well at Alpine with Tamas Alroots as well alongside him. Zoltan Boda and Milan Meyer line up for AlphaTauri. Gabor Vajda lines up in the Aston Martin with Norbert Jabo-Konyi, Ben Jabo-Konyi's brother, also alongside him. Zolt Timbush and Gabor Tajtic lines up in the McLaren, and Janos Vilas and Zalan Biro lines up in the Williams. So yes, as you can tell, very different sort of layers of names here. Of course, some new faces that perhaps we wouldn't have seen before, Lewis. Some of them, of course, you witnessed racing around Monza last time out. Different complexion. I'm looking at the screen, and it looks like Brazil is going to be on the menu.
Nice. Who doesn't love a little cheeky bit of Interlagos? Yeah, no, honestly, we've got a quality grid. We had a lot of fun last time. A couple of different strategies as well, courtesy mostly of the weather conditions. It was Ben Jabo-Konyi who obviously got himself involved in the podium with a couple of the Ferraris as well. Yeah, there's a couple of changes on the lineup as well. Some drivers that haven't returned. No Danny Masala, so I can't make my chicken tikka joke.
You're a little disappointed about that, aren't you? Let's be honest. Not even his buddy Korma popping around.
Let's just clarify. I'm not a little disappointed. I'm devastated. I honestly, as soon as I saw that, I thought, I might cancel this broadcast. But no, it's fine. It wouldn't be fair to do that to you, George. And leave you to go through.
He's picked up his naan bread and gone. He's picked up his naan bread and left. So yeah,
it's terrible.
Sorry. But yeah, no, he's not here. He must have heard the joke probably. Decided, right, I'm not racing here. I'm not racing here again. But yeah, no, nevertheless, no, we do miss him terribly. Looking forward though to tonight. Brazil, you alluded to it as well. Who hates Brazil? No one does. I mean, it's a fantastic track. Formidable layout, plenty of variation in cornering. We've even got some elevation change as well. You go to the top of the hill, you have the long straight, and then of course you go down the descent through the center S's and in towards the very fast section, down the one of the long straights as well, down in towards Decidia de Lago, and then through towards the very technical second sector, which then leads you to sector 3, where you make the climb back up through towards the top. And obviously it's witnessed many a great finale in F1 as well, including that of the famous Felipe Massa, Lewis Hamilton, season back in 2008, I believe it was, all the way back then.
It was.
Yeah.
It was indeed. And also the 2012 finale. Remember coming through to Ski de Lago and then seeing a certain Sebastian Vettel going backwards down the hill. Everyone thinking the championship's over, but then the comeback charge was on. Weather always plays a critical thing around here, and always comeback charges are on during the race. Cheeky little safety car halfway through, and you never really know what's going to happen. That's actually kind of threw the cat amongst the pigeons back in Monza at the season open. There was a safety car about halfway, or in the latter portion of the race, and it kind of turn the entire race back on its head.
Yeah, and speaking of course, of Sebastian Vettel, we had the Charles Leclerc moment heading down through towards the city of de Lago as well, when the two Ferraris came together, and both Ferraris essentially took themselves out of the race. It was truly bizarre. But we will be heading into one-shot quali mode very shortly. As you can see, very shortly now the timer ticking down 0, and we will be getting started here in the session. So there's only one chance to dance here at this circuit, and naturally the likes of Jarno Wotmir and Danny Berejnay, they will not necessarily be partaking or at least featuring at the front end of the grid, so there's going to be a big challenge on their shoulders to try and execute around this track. But due to it being 100% race conditions, the one thing we can say is that anything can really happen. And as things stand, we are watching the drivers make their way around. I think it's best that we just focus on one particular driver. I think I can already tell you that Ben-Chabo Cogny is looking like the fastest man, with Danny Berejnay also featuring as well. So whatever G2 Luke was telling me earlier on must be a lie, because, I say that, Danny Berejnay is dropping down the order, so there we go. But Ben-Chabo Cogny leading us through as he makes his way through towards City de Lago.
Yeah, down the hill through T5 up towards Ferradura. The Mercs did do that last time. They started out in quali quite well, and then obviously they backed off. On board with Ben-Chabo Cogny into Ferradura towards Larangina. Now, I absolutely adore this section as you drop down the hill before you go back up towards Biga de Pato. This is an overtaking opportunity if you're brave, but so many people like to leave a nose down there, and it almost always causes an incident.
Yeah, it certainly does so. Purple first sector, as you'd expect from Ben-Chabo Cogny, looking very sharp indeed. He's Van Pookie not far behind either, right in the mix. Crawling up the order though is Gab in the McLaren as well. Plenty of names starting to filter through, but Ben-Chabo Cogny unperturbed up at the top. Purple in the first, second sector. No one could touch him up at the top, up at the sharp end, and goes 3/10 clear of the realm up at the top and takes pole as we make our way into the race here at Brazil. So there you have it. East Van Pookie as well, breaking in to the top end, taking second place and a front row start. But quite a gap there between these drivers, certainly between Ps 1 and 2, 3/10. Considering what F1 racing is all about, that's quite a gap, Lewis.
Yeah, and also there was a big note in there. Dylan Warren got disqualified from qualifiers. He'll be starting at the back of the field. Obviously, driver right up there in the championship, really leading the championship at the moment, starting right towards the back. You got Norbert Chabo Cogny back here. Obviously, Danny of the Alpine fame was the driver that had pole position last time. Daniel Benzer not starting from pole position this time.
No, not at all. Up at the back, you can now see that Dylan Warren just ahead of Jarno Wotmir, nonetheless. Of course, Wotmir wouldn't have set a lap. Danny Berejnay also backing off as we saw earlier on. So 18th place he will start. So there we go. That is our lineup for the start of qualifying. Great lap though for Ben-Chabo Cogny, someone who has been on the scene for quite some time, it must be said, in league racing. Has obviously battled against the best in the world. I remember, of course, when he got established and really started hitting home in the days of ORL. Has now since moved on and taken part in the likes of PSGL and also WOR in its own right, and has always been a notable and fast driver. Never really had his chance to show what he could truly do, but now at this point it certainly seems that he's found something with the new handling model in this game as well. Many of the drivers obviously adapted to it nicer than others. Of course, last year saw Jarno Wotmir not necessarily in his best form, but I could argue and say that he definitely is coming back to that rich vein as well, is the Flying Dutchman. So we'll wait and see. And obviously Ben-Chabo Cogny being on pole, huge opportunity, but East Van Pookie is going to be a huge challenger heading in towards turn 1, Lewis.
Yeah, of course, Pookie finished on the podium behind Ben-Chabo Cogny at the previous round, so we'll want to get one over. But to be fair, honestly, do not rule out those drivers from the back of the field working their way out. We know that rain's going to hit through the mid-portion of the race. Again, not a meteorologist, so don't quote me on that one. But you know, we're expecting some rain throughout the day. It's going to start out dry, though, as we expect. It will end, hopefully, in dry conditions as well. That middle portion means that genuinely the floodgates, so to speak, are open for anyone to work their way up the order.
Yeah, and naturally with the wet weather coming into play, also the dry weather making a return to and fro essentially through the course of the race, that means we're going to be seeing vast numbers of multi-stop strategies, I would have thought. So, you know, whereas you might get you'd obviously get a two-stop strategy generally through a 100% race scenario you'd expect at Brazil. You now could throw in another 2 stops, given the fact we could be having 2 dry ends of the race. You've got to chuck a couple of potential intermediate and wet tyre stints in as well. So what was a 2-stop could become a 4-stop.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole thing of like going into this race with a pre-given strategy. It's not so easy.
No, not at all. All 5 lights now lit here in the Ironman League here in WOR, and they are underway. It's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Benjamin Conyi underway like a shot, makes his way through the center S's. No one could challenge him. Heading in towards turn 1, Pookie stays in second, Gab in third, Milan Mayer breaking away, and already yellow flags heading through the first sector. Look at the gap now starting to be pulled apart with the top 4 drivers now breaking away from Zarbos Wenzel and Takas Gabor in 5th and 6th.
Yeah, plenty of side-by-side working their way through. Obviously, you had Devin Vincer and Ben Eilish that had the issue at the first turn. That's why they've dropped back, and they've dragged Al Roots with him as well. Heading up the hill, everything returns to slightly single file, riding on board with Zarbos Wenzel. At the moment, obviously, Alfa Romeo running 5th and 6th. You know, Takas Gabor was pretty quick. They were running fairly fast back in Monza. Now looking pretty strong as well, up inside the top 5, top 6.
Yeah, they certainly are. We got some side-by-sides for the back as well. Look at that from Norbert Charbot-Conyi as well around the outside. Jana Watmir on the move as well as he makes an outside line manoeuvre on Janos Vilas and makes his way through to 13th place. But the Williams not giving up, refusing to let the Flying Dutchman through, but he does enough and manages to hold position now and chases after Dylan Warren for that 12 spots. Already we're getting underway with a bang as we now see them cross the start-finish line. Enter now Zeno Grachki, who now makes his way past B. Danny. Of course, the man who took pole last time out as well, Janos Vilas, in fact, managing to get past the Flying Dutchman. Back again comes the Williams, but Jana refusing to give up again, and now looks to challenge still, holds on to his place, heading out of the centre S. A scary moment there for Uppbeat, but he does enough nonetheless.
Yeah, Uppbeat made a lot of progress in the opening stages, of course, back in Monza, and then it was courtesy a little bit of tyres, as well as obviously being quite aggressive in the opening stages. Alas, the top 4 are checking out. Ben Charbot-Conyi, Esteban Pookie, of course, Gabar Titiek, as well as Milan Mayer, all pulling away from those group behind. It is the McLaren that is the one that's looking most on the attack at the moment, trying to find any way through. Going through this middle sector, there's plenty of opportunities, though, to work your way past. It's just about picking the right one without causing any major drama.
Yeah, not at all. Danny Berejnay also making some really good places as well. Now starting to challenge after Dylan Warren. These two know each other very well. Timbo, effectively the cork in the proverbial bottle, trying to hold back Dylan Warren at this stage as they climb over the hill out of Junkau and heading down the next straight before they venture on the next lap. Lap 3 of 71 begins. And now we're seeing Zarbos Wenzel taking the fastest lap of the race straight away and holding that now. Obviously, Ben Charbot-Conyi took it, but side by side now, straight away as Berejnay attacks Warren, heading through the centre S's, out of turns 2 and 3, heading down towards the Retta Reposta through Decidia de Lago, and it will be Danny Berejnay who takes that place away. Jana Watmir looking to do the same as well as they make their way into that famed Decidia de Lago section now.
Yeah, that was a nice move from Uppbeat, working his way past on Norbert Charbot-Conyi. Watch out for Charbot-Conyi to come straight back through. To be fair, watch out for Dylan Warren to try and come straight back through, because he is running on the softer of the compounds of tyres. Berejnay making that move, of course, is on the mediums, those yellow wool tyres. So that's, it's good for Berejnay to work their way through right now. You've got to remember, though, is that the softer tyres, they make their lap times through this section. On the run up the hill, if you've got plenty of battery left, dump it and get past. That's exactly what Berejnay's done. The only thing is, I think he might have dropped a little bit too far back from Timbush there.
Yeah, I think he might have. He's losing out on potentially some extra aero that can give him that toe. Timbo's doing a great job of holding on to that 9th place. Of course, you've got various different talents here featuring on the grid. Danny Berejnay, of course, representing the Mercedes squadron in F1 Esports this season. We've got more side-by-sides as well. We've got Norbert Charbot-Conyi and Zoltan Boda coming together as well, as we there saw Danny Berejnay and Warren make their way through turn 1. It will be Zoltan Boda coming out ahead of Norbert Charbot-Conyi. Svan Pookie as well, looking to close up here on Ben Charbot-Conyi. That's a battle for the lead. The gap is being worked on between Zarbos Wenzel and Milan Mayer for that 4th spot as well. It's now within a second as opposed to where it was outside a second earlier on. It was a bizarre start, Lewis. The top 4 incredibly breaking away so fast.
Yeah, but got to say, those Alphas are looking pretty strong. Here comes Danny Berejne with, Dylan Warren straight around the outside of Berejne once again. Brilliant move there. Again, using those soft tyres through that middle sector. The gap to Timbo's come down quite a bit courtesy of it. And look who is knocking at the door, Jarno Uppbeat. I'm almost going to assume there might be an attempt from Uppbeat to make a move going down into the first section of the centre S, if not waiting until the end of the Retta Riposta, of course, going to Pesquita de Largo.
Yeah, well, we're now watching Jarno Uppbeat. We're on board with him right now, two-time F1 Esports champion, and trying to limber himself up towards his fellow Mercedes counterpart, Danny Berejne. Now, in towards turn one they go. Dylan Warren holding on to 10th place and doing a great job too. Timbo now coming under threat once again and will suffer, obviously, without the aero to allow him to, well, effectively get towed away from Dylan Warren. But doing enough nonetheless, has the DRS, and that will be applied heading in towards turn 5 as they now make their way in towards the Ferradura. Tamas Alroots as well, getting past Ben Gilles as well for that 16th spot. Many of the drivers as well getting closer and closer. Dylan Warren 0.2 of a second now as they dip through into the very tight right-hander, almost pushing Timbo around at this point. And whilst Timbo has done a great job of holding place, I get the feeling his number might be up very soon as he now makes a move around the outside here, Lewis.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. He's got to leave it down the inside. Oh, and he's going to do it as well, heading down the hill up towards the final corner of the track at Yunsao. That was a brilliant move from Dylan Warren. I did not think he'd have the grip to do so. I kind of wonder if Timbo's tyres are potentially going off on board with Danny Berejne. And then once again, DRS open. Watch the slipstream. If there's any battery left in this car, which you can tell by the wheel there certainly is, I think Timbo might be coming straight back though, George.
I think he might be heading in towards turn 1. He had a look down the inside, not opting to make the move there. The problem Timbo has is that he is exposed to the two Mercs in behind. Danny Berejne now within 0.2 and trying to rein himself in closer. No flashing on the back of the McLaren, so that is comforting for Timbo. He does have ERS to burn as now they make their way in towards the next left now before they then venture in towards Sector 2 proper. It is now currently faced with Benjabo Connie and the Haas team currently sitting in first with Istvan Pukki in second, Gab in third, Milan Meyer having a good race as well in fourth. Szabolcs Wenzel has done a great job to rein in the delta once again. He is now right up close and personal with Gab in third place, but Gab, crucially enough, 1.1 seconds away from Istvan Pukki at the top. And bear in mind, the top two on the medium tyres, so strategically they are in a great position.
Yeah, and you got to say, it looks like both McLarens at the moment, of course, Gabor Titiek and, of course, Zsolt Timbo, who we're looking at here, both seeming to struggle a little bit. Obviously, we're only 6 laps into this run, but you know, when you're going through that middle sector, you do burn through those tyres, especially on those softs. You can see there on the graphic, Berejne's on the medium tyres as well. It's the third highest driver on the mediums. Everyone else basically on the grid is on softs, with the exception of Norbert Jabo Conye, David Vince, and, of course, Biro Zilan at the rear of the field. Yeah,
Milan Meyer taking the opportunity against Gab, who lost the DRS on Istvan Pukki and was able to make the move in towards the centre S's. So a fantastic run from Milan Meyer. Will now look to try and break back into DRS, but obviously those softs will burn off eventually. It's now or never for Milan Meyer. Once he gets within the window of Istvan Pukki, he can utilise the DRS and stay within, and as you can see, he's done that masterfully now within a second. So the rear wing can be opened up heading down the long straight through towards turn 1 at the centre S's. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Gab now being closed upon by Szabolcs Wenzel. The two Alfa Romeos working together so far. Of course, both sharing equilateral gaps between them and their opponents at this stage. And now we're seeing more moves being done further down as Dylan Warren moves his way past Danny. And yes, we got Timbo as well being faced up and roomed up upon by Danny Berejne. And I can see raindrops already starting to fall. Light rain now on its way. It's here, in fact. The droplets falling here at Brazil.
Yep, so when do you jump in? This could be good for all those drivers on the soft tyres, especially those, the two McLarens, as we do have one coming into the pit lane. It is Gabor into the pit lane. So Gab has jumped in, as well as Jarno Uppbeat, Zoltan Boda, Norbert Jabo Conye, as well as quite a few drivers coming in straight away. They're not wasting time.
Yeah, let's see how this performs. Obviously, almost like an existential undercut, and we'll have to see whether the weather gets worse. I mean, that's exactly what those that have just boxed will be hoping for now, that the weather gets worse here immediately. So the likes of Istvan Pukki, Benjabo Conye suffer through a lack of, should we say, delta, and therefore that interval will come crashing down, allowing Jarno Uppbeat to catch up, whilst they, of course, will have to box onto their intermediate tyres or wet tyres, whatever they choose to box onto. As now Jarno Opmeer makes his way around. Gab still leading those on the intermediate runners. Let's take a look at Istvan Pukki, who still holds on to the lead. Milan Meyer now outside by 2 seconds. Obviously must have had an issue, because remember, he was within the 1 second window, and you can see the cars sliding all over the track at the front. And look at the track, it's absolutely sopping wet. Therefore, they've got to come in now. And how much have they lost, do you think, Lewis, in this phase?
Sure. I mean, to be fair, I'd almost kind of say maybe quite a bit. I mean, I do get the feeling, seeing how much the circuit has taken to the moisture quite quickly. Dylan Warren, though, is not coming in. He is staying out on the track right now, maybe waiting for it to get wet enough to move onto the full wet tyres. That could be the potential strategy call. Got to watch out for speeding in the pit lane. Already seeing Ben Eilis coming in with one of those. But I do also think that that Gab, of course, Gab Artysiak, will be the driver that also has a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So it might mean that net race leader might end up being Jarno Opmeer.
It could well be, and Gab now making his way through the field, but just seeing where he comes out in all of this. Plenty of the cars now looking to make their way back out onto the track after boxing onto their intermediate tyres, and he's done a great job here. He's right behind Jaboš Wenzel, and Jarno Opmeer up to 8th place after making that early stop, so that has worked wonders for the Flying Dutchman. Now sits there in the top 10. Danny Berejnay also in the top 10 as well on intermediate tyres, though he has lost a little bit because, of course, he had to box a lap later, and a safety car has come out as well.
That's a disaster for Dylan. Well, no, it might not be a disaster for Dylan Moore. He needs to get round as fast as possible. Unfortunately, it's Gabor Weider who's the retirement from the race. Did see that yellow flag come out. To be fair, when you're going through these kind of conditions, it's always where there's the risk. Do you think this will work out for Dylan Moore, actually?
I think it'll work out brilliantly for him because, of course, 20 seconds is the gap between he and his teammate Istvan Pukki. So Warren, staying out the way he did, obviously optimising his delta. Well, I would say optimising his delta. Nothing optimising about having soft tyres on a wet track. But nonetheless, staying out, avoiding the double stack as well here, Lewis, because obviously Pukki was in the box last time out. Yeah. So he's now got a fresh set of intermediate tyres. He's going to make his way out of the pit lane, and I think he'll hold on. Oh, I mean, he might not, actually. You can see the cars now making their way over the crest. Istvan Pukki leading the contingent around. While Warren might forfeit the lead here, he's going to be close to the front end.
I think he's going to hold on to the race lead.
He might do.
Well, bearing in mind, Dylan Warren was like 10th place coming into the pit stop. It's going to be very close between them. But I think as he's left the pit lane, whilst Istvan Pukki will work his way through, now is when they've passed the beam, once they've left the pit lane and gone past that. So Pukki will be the race leader. It's become a 1-2 for Ferrari, though.
It's not very often you get Ferrari strategy masterclasses.
I know,
How often do you see this, folks at home? Ferrari strategy masterclass. Istvan Pukki and Dylan Warren. 1-2 here in lap 10 of 71. That is bizarre.
To be fair, at Monza, they were like switching. They were like using the slipstream. They kept like, obviously, if you kind of count it to how things are in bicycle racing, obviously when you're seeing the peloton and stuff, and you're seeing them all switch around like a team time trial, they were doing it really, really well at Monza, which I was like, oh, that's very counter Ferrari. They normally trip up over each other far too much. So again, excellent stuff. A little bit fortuitous there from Dylan Warren, but I think even by pitting later, I think he was almost going to gain quite a few positions anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whether he knew something, others didn't. I mean, we've got two retirees now, Tamas Alroots, as well as Sonny LM Vajda Gabor. I think it's Vajda Gabor who actually caused the safety car earlier on. Not quite sure what had happened, but of course retiring. And therefore we now are under full course yellow conditions with the safety car out on circuit. Ben Jabo-Kogne still there in the mix, third fastest in this classification, with Milan Meyer just behind him as well. Great progress though for the Mercs, in a sense that Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berejnay are now in the top 10 and avoiding the double stack as well at the same time. So very masterfully done on their account too. And the great news for them is that the group will now all bunch up together, which gives Opmeer another chance to sort of wrestle his way through the top 10 once again, as well as Danny Berejnay. So Mercedes could yet cause a turn in their favour, and obviously when we get the race restarted after the safety car comes in.
The bad news for them, though, is the top 3 in the championship, i.e. realistically, 3 of the fastest drivers on the grid. Istvan Pukki, Dylan Moore and Ben Jabo-Kogne, they're all running first, second and third at the moment, which means that Jarno Opmeer, Danny Berejnay, they need to work through everyone else to get to the rear end of them. And to be fair, knowing their pace, having seen it, obviously, at the previous round at Monza, and understanding how they are around here, they might be able to check out very early into the stint. And so Opmir and Brezhnev might need to work their way through. And to be fair, that's not giving enough respect to the rest of the field, because it's a quality field anyway.
Absolutely. I'm just keeping an eye on these three at the bottom. They've just boxed again, and they've opted for the wet tyres. So now bear in mind, I'm getting news on my telemetry that the raining is going to continue for the next 41 minutes. So I can fully anticipate and expect that we're going to be seeing this wet weather for quite some time. Dry conditions, should they ever come, we might not see them until the very end of this race. Now that could cause a real turn, a real turn of foot in terms of how this race is going to plan out. But this has worked brilliantly for Gabor, Iles and Vilas, because of course if they stay out now on those wet tyres, there's a great chance now that everyone else is going to follow suit and box, and therefore they'll take the race lead as they make their way around under safety car conditions still. Lap 11 of 71. Let's wait and see what Pookie does.
Yeah, obviously he's going to take control here and get ready to go back underway. I think Dylan Warren, by the way, was actually waiting to try and go on the wet tyres. That's why we're staying out on those slicks. We'll see if he can maybe take over the race lead from his teammate, or whether they're going to work together.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Lap 11 of 71. They're now pulling behind the safety car. The safety car now moving itself into the pit lane. And now it is down to Pookie to get us back underway as we await for the LED boards to get set and get them ready to get going again. Benjab Okonyi waiting in the wings as well, and they will and should do put pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now. Istvan Pookie now with the lead, makes his way through towards the center S's with two Ferraris now at the head of the field. Yellow flags erupting. I believe it was a McLaren. Gab has spun, heading through turn one, and now sees himself at the back of the field.
But Dylan Warren has taken the race lead. Istvan Pookie dropped back to second position. Watch for Benjab Okonyi as well, trying to work his way back through. The Ferraris do battle here at Interlagos as Pookie's trying to get the up and under as they rise their way back up the hill. Somehow out of nowhere, Jarno Opmir's working his way up the fifth. It's been a crazy start to the race. Yeah,
Danny Berejnet as well, outside line, heading in towards the Piratella into the Ferragira, has managed to hold on to that sixth place as well. So Jaboz Venchel losing 2 places in the space in the blink of an eye. Jarno Opmir gaining a massive 3 places at the restart as well. We saw how bunched up the conglomerate of cars were just as the safety car restarted itself. Zoltan Boda has moved up down the inside of B Danny as well and taken 9th place away. So a great restart as well for him. The AlphaTauri looking to make its way up the field with Timbo now in 11th place. Norbert Jabokoni down in 12th, keeping David Vinch at bay.
Yeah, like you say, Danny Benson, that Alpine, B Danny, not quite going as fast here as what we saw in the previous round. This is back on board with Benjab Okonyi, the Haas driver that sits second in the championship at the moment, trying to get to the outside of Istvan Pookie, trying to get one of the Ferraris down. Cannot work their way through in the centre S, and now have to look backwards. This might be the move, though, going up towards T4. I think Jarno Opmir might come through. Big snaps of oversteer. They're struggling in these conditions right now. It's maybe too wet for the Inters.
It might be, and I'm just seeing Opmir in trouble as now Milan Meyer tries to bring back the place into his cause, but no, he can't. Heading through turn 4 out of turn 5 as well. Jarno Opmir in 4th place with Danny Berejnet in 6th now. It's a Mercedes sandwich here with Milan Meyer in between as they make their way through towards the next right-hander. They're getting so close to touching, but even as the weather conditions get worse and worse, we could be on the precipice of full wets. Jarno Opmir is still bursting his way forward and is now on the precipice of a podium place.
You're walking a very dangerous line here, George, talking about sandwiches and stuff like that on broadcast with me. It's an AlphaTauri sandwich with Mercedes bread. I told you this in Sweden, sir.
I forget.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not salty. I'm not angry.
They're throwing in some Milan mayonnaise. How about that?
All right, I'll allow that one. That's all right.
Incredible. Danny Berejnet, though, as he's just literally broken the sandwich. He is now in 5th place this time around. Jarno Opmir in 4th. And Benjab Okonyi still in 3rd. But take a look at this. Zoltan Boda as well moving up to 7th place. He is on a mission right now. Also on a mission is Benjab Okonyi, again looking to try and battle past the sister Ferrari engine-powered cars as they make their way down through out to the Senna S's, down the Retta Aposta into the city of Delago. But Dylan Warren and Pookie working together here and doing a great job.
More snaps of oversteer, though, coming through T5. This is a really, really tricky. We've always said this kind of things is that, these kind of conditions, they're up there with some of the most awkward that you could do. And it's almost harder than full wets when it's like this. Obviously, slicks in damp conditions, obviously pretty much the hardest. But here, you're just not quite getting the amount of grip that you want. The tyres are getting slightly cold. You're doing everything you can to try and keep the temperature in them. And right now, here comes Jabo Okonyi straight out the inside, but he's bitten off a little bit too much and somehow keeps the car pointing the right way.
He was very fortunate minute. I thought he lost it altogether, and at this case now, Istvan Pukki is actually 1.1 seconds behind his teammate due to the sheer contact between he and Benjabo Connie. Both of them can consider themselves lucky because Jarno Opmeer waiting right there for any chance to attack as they make their way, heading down the straight this time around. Warren now with a healthy advantage. Look at this though. Look at all the cars. The sea of cars certainly in this modern hybrid era where we're seeing them now make their way plummeting through towards turn 1 again. Through the center S as they go. Opmeer now looking to try and put the burners on with Berejne following suit. Can they break ahead of the 3 cars ahead of them here? Benjabo Connie doing a stellar job, but still can't batter past the Scuderia in front of him.
I'd normally say, if we were talking F1 sim racing and the likes here, I'd be like, Berejne's not going to fight his teammate. He's not going to do this. He's going to play the team. Nah, none of that in this. It's just literally go for it, mate. See what you can get. And right now, they're all seeing Dylan Warren checking out into the distance. I have absolutely no doubt, though, that we may well see something like another safety car later on or more drama. This is certainly not done yet. Just because we're 15 laps in. I know what we've been dealing with in real Formula 1 over the last year or so. Just because someone's checking out the front does not mean it's a guaranteed victory. Istvan Pukki, though, all over his shoulders, dealing with the pressure brilliantly from Benjabo Connie in such difficult conditions. I'm still not sure if it's full wets. Those drivers on full wets have not exactly scythed their way through the field, have they?
No, they certainly haven't. And obviously now with DRS disabled as it was all that time ago, of course, it's going to be that much harder for Benjabo Connie to make the moves. But as we said that, Lewis, into the pits comes Benjabo Connie. Jarno Opmeer following suit, Milan Mayer as well. Now, I can only fathom that this is for wet tyres.
Has to be for wet tyres. Again, this is the whole apparent commentator's curse or whatever. You bring something up and then the drivers do the opposite or they crash or something. I don't know.
I think you're right.
I don't believe in any of that. It's total rubbish. But they have now come in and gone onto the wet. So it's there now. All right? We'll allow it.
It is. We'll allow it. We will allow it, indeed. Incredible. Stellar showing already, and obviously an interesting strategy call here now. And we spoke about how many pit stops we could see. Obviously, generally 2 would be expected over the course of a full dry race. We're now seeing some of the chains some of the links in the chain starting to break in the top end now. You can see that Dylan Warren 2 seconds clear ahead of his teammate Istvan Pukki. So it's big question is what's Warren going to do with that amount of time? Is he going to consider even boxing on the wet tyres? Because now we've got more than half the grid occupying the blue set of tyres now.
Well, it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely wet tyres at the moment. If Warren comes in, then Pukki can't. If Pukki comes in, Warren can't. Like they need to communicate that between them. Because obviously, avoiding a double stack like they did so perfectly over the first run in the pit lane. You're absolutely right. I mean, we're definitely not seeing just 2 stops this race. Obviously, we're looking at the second stop already, and we're just 16 laps into a 71 lap race. As I think Pukki's not. No. They're not coming in the top 3. Interesting.
Yeah, neither of the Ferraris as well. Usually we might have seen perhaps one trying to avoid the double stack and making the necessary changes. Benjabo Connie past Ben Chilez as well. Jarno Opmeer doing the same as he puts the burners on, heading through the final corners on this lap. Past the Bieber does boxes on the right-hand side. The grandstands watch on as Jarno Opmeer looks to open the door, heading in towards turn 1. Mercedes v Haas. There's only going to be one winner. Round the outside through the center S's goes the Flying Dutchman. Jarno Opmeer, whilst he's currently under attack once again from Benjabo Connie. It's futile. It's Opmeer now in 9th place.
Brilliantly read, like you say, saw the move from Benjabo Connie on Ben's list and thought, right, I'm actually going to make it past both of you on the run down into T1. Bish Bash Bosh, Jarno Opmeer up in the 9th position, now the 2nd highest runner on the wet tyres. Of course, do you remember that Eilish, as well as the likes of Takash Gabor, they are on older wet tyres. Yes, only 5 or 6 laps, but it's enough to take the major part of like the deeper part of the tread straight off the tyre, and then you're faster for a couple laps, and then they start to drop off a little bit, and then they kind of balance themselves quite a bit. And I do kind of wonder if Gabor Takash might be under pressure very soon from Jarno Opmeer. He'll be pretty hungry to work his way up.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the gap, 4.3. It is coming down steadily. 4.1 now. Every moment, every 10th is sacrificed as he makes his way up through towards Junshao corner now, and he'll make his way past the Sabiba Dos boxes yet again. Of course, the scenes are where he would make that overtake on Benjabo Connie and Ben Chilez. 2 for the price of 1. Venturing in towards turn 1, just carried the momentum heading through the final corners and executed the overtake as a 2-time world champion certainly would do. Of course, plenty of action happening up at the sharp end as well. Danny Berejnay having a good race so far. He hasn't yet opted for the wet tyres. Certainly, Mercedes kind of splitting the difference in terms of strategy at this point. Berejnay now 0.6 of a second away from Pookie. Now, Pookie's no slouch, of course. League racing winner in both PSGL and WOR, and knows how to do it as well at tracks that carry a multitude of different corners. And, Spa was one of them. And Brazil, very similar to Spa, has a variance in corners, variance in undulation. Pookie can drag victory from the brink of realms impossible. He is that good, and obviously worthy of a drive as a Ferrari development driver. But Berejnay is going to be reminding him time and time again why he's been in the F1 Esports scene for so long, and why he has been part of championship charges like Mercedes were all those years ago back in 2018 when he partnered Brendan Lee. Berejnay this time, though, alongside Jarno Opmeer, as he was when Jarno would take the title back at Alfa Romeo all those years ago for the first time. They're back together again. Berejnay on the attack.
Got to say, though, at the moment, the concern is that gap, the 2.5 second one to Dylan Warren. And then, of course, the gaps behind as the likes of Jarno Opmeer closing in very, very quickly to the back of Gabor to catch. So there might be a move coming in there for the Mercedes driver, potentially on this very lap. And let's see if one Mercedes can also work their way up the order. Danny Berejnay. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to pass Esteban Pookie. I think he's been so good at just keeping the car on the road without making any major mistakes. And it kind of makes you wonder what the top 7 drivers are doing. Are they just trying to see out this entire stint on the intermediate tyres? Is it not quite wet enough for wets, but too wet for inters? It's very hard to tell.
Yeah, it is at this stage. I mean, whether they're just trying to chance their arm and just hope and maybe pray for another safety car, I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, the rain is not expected to stop, as far as I can see on my screen, for around 27 minutes or so. But even that is a rough estimate. I mean, when we saw the rain droplets come down, we weren't actually expecting the wet weather to come down for another couple of minutes. So, it really is, a random, sort of case as such. So it's down to the drivers to really, empower their wits. Think of, try and understand what the track's doing at that precise moment in time. Make decisions based on what they know. Obviously, it's still tricky. It's certainly not easy, but nonetheless, this is why they get paid the big bucks as top drivers in the sim racing scene. Jarno Opmeer, though, right on the tail of his competitor, and this looks like a very simple, easy and done move here.
Yeah. That was a piece of cake, really, like taking candy from a baby. Now, kind of got to wonder if Benchstar Konyu might try and find his way past in a similar form, although I'm not sure the answer is going to be there. Although it might be on the exit, the centre S, because that's really where Jarno Opmeer brought out so much of the gap from Takash. Yellow flag comes out again. Vencel, I believe, is the one that's gone round. Virtual safety car has come out, as we'll see the Alfa Romeos, who've been running so well today, try and get their way back going again.
Yeah, and missing a front wing as well, so he's going to have to come into the pits. A VSC has indeed been called, and Gab getting a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC as well. So Gab also suffering yet more penalties at this stage. He certainly doesn't have the gift of the gab at this point here, Lewis.
Neither do we. You were saying about these lot all being paid the big bucks and stuff, and I was like, yeah, well, we're definitely not getting paid the big bucks for our weather report here, are we? We've got absolutely no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, no,
waffling total nonsense.
I don't think we have a future in weather casting, to be honest with you, Lewis. But nonetheless, that's why we're doing this. So yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Timbo currently sat in 5th place, having a good race as well, but obviously Jarno Opmeer is starting to get closer and closer to those cars in front. Just look at the delta deficit now, 1.3 seconds. He's gaining as the VSC comes to an end, and the cars are going to be very, very much tied together very shortly. He's already broken to within a second. He's broken to within 9 tenths, soon to be 8 tenths, soon to be 7 tenths, and he's now knocking at that wood, chopping at the grain, and immediately now Jarno Opmeer, it looks apparent, it certainly looks like it's going to be an educated move here from Jarno Opmeer once again through towards the center S's. Timbo cannot stop him. The Mercedes moves into 5th. The wet tyres working away here, and he's only accrued 5 laps on them. Beware those in the top 4. Another Mercedes is coming.
Yeah, also you got to remember that the big thing there is that when you've gone through a virtual safety car, you've lost a lot of the temperature of the tyre. It's mainly the surface temperature, sure, but you'll drop the core temperature a fair amount, and getting that core temperature back right now is actually really, really tricky, as once again Timbo now drops out. What I'm saying is when those virtual safety cars or any interruption to the race that happens, the drivers on the wet tyres are handed an immense advantage when it comes to restart, because their tyres will get back up to temperature slightly faster in these conditions, courtesy of less surface area and all that kind of boring stuff. I'm not going into it, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, no, you're absolutely spot on. Danny Berejny, though, challenging for P2 between he and Istvan Pukki. This is a move that has been long in the making. Wheel to wheel, they remain. Caution, yellow flags in Sector 2 once again. And another VSC as Danny Berejny gets his nose in front and now holds on to second place. Istvan Pukki falls in behind, but yet another VSC scenario here. And Jarno Watme will have to wait until that comes to an end before he can close the gap.
Was about to say, if I'm the top 3, I'm coming in right now.
They are.
Virtual safety car as I come through the final corner. You have to bite at that. You've got to go onto the wet tyres. There's no point in trying to stay out.
And Ferrari have to double stack again, only this time Dylan Warren with the gap, able to jump in and jump out, and then Istvan Pukki can take his stop as well. So it's not a huge time loss here for Ferrari at this point. Istvan Pukki already now making his way out. Jarno Watme in the pits. So there's a big change once again. He's putting the inters back on, Lewis.
I'm sorry. What? Why? What? Sorry. Excuse me? I'm baffled. What?
Well,
I'm so confused.
He's not the only one. He's not the only one because Danny Berejny has done exactly the same. He has put on fresh intermediate tyres. So do they know something we don't here?
Oh, I think they know a lot of things we don't, like anything. I'm just honestly, I'm baffled. Obviously, Dylan Moran's come in and has put on the wet tyres, and then everyone else has come in and put on a fresh set of inters.
And just as I was praising the Ferrari strategy, they've got Istvan Pukki.
Well, we don't know if this is good or bad.
Yeah, well, neither do.
Also,
well, I certainly don't, Lewis. I mean, at this point,
it's a virtual safety car, but there's a real safety car out on circuit. What is happening in this race? Help! Please.
Michael, is that you? No, I don't know what's going on here, Lewis. Look, Dylan Warren is now leading the way, as he has been majority of the race. Fresh wet tyres have been placed on the car. We've got a VSC with a safety car that has come out, and a safety car has been called. So there we go. There is. Don't worry, everybody. There is method in the madness, we can assure you.
Oh my goodness me! I would love to at this point just blame the broadcast direction and say maybe you didn't pick the right graphic or something. But no, I know
I'm absolved, Lewis.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not responsible for that one.
No,
honestly,
no, it's not my fault.
That is
you can't
weird.
blame me. Yeah, you can't blame me. I'm afraid. I'm just simply the provider of the stream service. But yeah, no, at this point, we're witnessing a safety car here in lap 23. I can't quite see the reasoning behind it, whether it was because Janos Villas, I mean, he's got a penalty beside him. Gab as well coming into the pits yet again. Remember, of course, he had to repair front wing damage earlier on. He, of course, I think serving his own penalty in the pit stop phase as well. So he's managed to get that penalty removed through a stop-go at this point. But yes, as they now settle down, this is bad news for Dylan Warren at this stage, because if the rain is going to lighten up, he is now going to be a sitting duck for all those on the intermediates when the safety car comes to an end.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of one that maybe he was sat there in the car being like, this is absolutely still wet tyres. And you're, even if you know right now, no, this is definitely the condition for wet tyres, and then you're looking at the grid and you're seeing everyone else is on the intermediates, you're like, oh, is it the wet tyres? Even though you're like, no, this is definitely wet tyres, but you see everyone else on intermediates. So that's where like the doubt comes in, and it can actually make you drive slower. That self-doubt. You need to just have the full belief this is the right tyre and these are the right conditions for it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, you never know. I mean, he might have been the brains behind this, and you never know. It might work for him. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, the safety car's still out and about, and it will stay out for the foreseeable. We're just waiting to see whether race control will give us a message to confirm whether it is going to come in. By the looks of it, it's going to remain out for another lap at the very least. I'd imagine it'll come in probably over the course of the next lap or so. Danny Berejny still in second. Brand new intermediate tyres. Jarno Watme in fourth. What was a Ferrari dominant race. Mercedes have now joined them. It's Ferrari, Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes. The question is, has it gone from a W in the strategy box for Ferrari into an L, depending on what happens with Dylan Warren here?
I don't know. Honestly, we're not that far into this race, so that's fine. We've got plenty of time to work out what is going on, because honestly, look, let me just clarify this. This is my second ever race commentating on F1. George is supposed to be like the best. He's supposed to know what's going on. I definitely don't. I am enjoying it, though. I'm enjoying not knowing anything.
Well, this is the beauty of calling live action here, Lewis. I mean,
make it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not supposed to know what goes on. I mean, that destroys the element of surprise. We love the element.
We're supposed to inform the audience what's going on. Honestly, we've got no idea.
No, we don't. No.
Not a clue.
We're so professional.
But as long as we're having fun, you're all having fun watching. There are some cool drivers up at the front of the field and at the back and in the middle. We're going to have fun. Hopefully, VRWish.com Bert Mylander comes into the pit lane fairly quickly, because I'd like to see this race back underway.
Well, if you are having fun, you can hit the subscribe button and stay up to date with everything that goes on here at the World Online Racing YouTube channel. And of course, live with your regularly scheduled viewing programming with League Racing generally, and you will get PC and Xbox live action as well. It certainly has been an incredible race. We have witnessed so many pit stops, lots of strategy change. I can tell you that Jarno Watmir has already used up 4 sets of tyres so far, including the ones he has got emblazoned on his car right now. There's very few that have actually bested him in terms of number of stops. One man who has done, David Vincher, who has actually been on mediums, inters twice, and 2 sets of wet tyres. So there you go. He has made more stops than anybody at this stage, but I'm sure we'll see plenty more as we work our way through the race, because we're only on lap 24 of 71.
Safety car remains out. I'm getting a bit more concerned that it's remaining out on the racetrack, but I have faith in the system that it'll be working its way back into the pit lane at the end of this lap, and we'll be able to get this one back underway. My only theory is, I'm like, could there be a bug and it remains out on the racetrack, and we just commentate on another 45 laps?
Oh, Lewis, you've been here before, haven't you?
Yes, mayhaps.
Don't tempt fate, Lewis McGlade. Trust me, I've been down this road many a time. But yes, Dylan Warren leads the way. It'd be a first though. I mean, I haven't had this one, so yeah, it'd be nice to have a change. But yeah, Dylan.
Are you the safety car driver? You're the one that's driving the safety car around. You want to win the race,
yeah,
right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
is that what's happening?
Listen, I think this is a fantastic strategy from the safety car's point of view. I mean, yeah, incredible. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be getting a message from race control. It's got to be this lap, surely. I mean, I can't imagine it'll stay out much longer. And I mean, all the cars are currently bunched up together. The only one who's not currently with the pack is Janos Vilas. I mean, sometimes it does take into account that obviously the car at the tail end of the field hasn't caught up with the rest of the pack, so that might be the reason why it has taken so long. And we did see Gab earlier on taking a pit stop, but he is now caught up pretty much with the rest of the field. 3.3 off Biro Jalan in 15th place as we now await the safety car, and it is going to be in this lap. So there we go. Dylan Warren is going to take over as the proverbial safety car here on lap 25, soon to be lap 26. Strap yourselves in, everybody. Danny Berejnay in second is going to be watching all over that Ferrari rear wing, as is Istvan Pukki, who is also in the fight. Jarno Watmir in the mix. Zoltan Boda has lifted himself higher up the order as well. From P20 to P4, Jarno Watmir in the mix. Can he challenge for a podium place? As now he put pedal to the metal for the 3rd time in this race now. And immediately Danny Berejnay under attack from Istvan Pukki as they make their way towards the centre S's. Wheel to wheel they remain. Pukki now looking for second, but he runs wide, heading through turn 2. But this time it's Berejnay who holds on to second. Enter Jarno Watmir as well. 4th place could soon become 3. Mercedes looking for a double podium, at least for now, as they make their way wheel to wheel down the Retro Imposter to City of Delago. Through turn 4 they go. Wheel to wheel they stay. Pukki failing to give up. He does not want to give up without a fight. Watmir forced him in behind him here with Zoltan Boda also in the mix.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, at the moment the intermediate's not looking particularly great, as Zoltan Boda's having to fend off bench Darbo Konyi straight around the outside of Ferradura. Now he's trying to remain there as well before we go into a left-hander, which will result in an advantage for the Haas driver. So a fantastic move there from bench Darbo Konyi. At the moment, Ferrari Merc. But that 1 second gap for Dylan Warren, whilst it might not be great for the intermediates right now, as they come up to temperature, I suspect those gaps might come back down. It makes sense that Dylan Warren would restart the race as strong as possible, but I do believe those gaps will come down and Berejnay might be right on the rear end of Warren fairly soon.
Yeah, I'd imagine many of those drivers that opted for those intermediate tyres were hoping that the rain was going to clear up under the safety car. That would have made a huge difference. Got more cautions as well. This time the safety car does not make an appearance. Jarno Watmir will make an appearance, however. This time on the outside of Istvan Pukki. Can't quite find a way around in towards turn 1. Pukki defending very well indeed, but Watmir will have another chance heading down the long straight. Should he find the momentum heading down the straight? Zeno Grachki picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Of course, now he's currently cemented 11th place in the Red Bull as they make their way in towards turn 4. Watmir still knocking on the door, still can't find a way through. Pookie refusing to beckon his way here, and now Uppbeat now looks for a move down the inside, switches to the outside, still can't quite find it, but will have a chance heading in towards the next right-hander.
Get a feeling that Pookie might actually be using this central section to recharge the battery as much as possible and then dump it out of T3 once they come through the center S, and that's how he's keeping Jarno Uppbeat at bay at the moment. But Ben Sabo Konyi might be knocking at the door for a potential move on Uppbeat. Looks to the inside ever so slightly as they work their way into Bigo de Pato, now dropping back down the hill as they prepare themselves for the final real corner at Junsao. I think Uppbeat's got to go through this time of the T1. If not, he's allowing Danny Berejne to check out a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think he might be. That is the one risk, obviously, with Pookie now losing time because he's defending so much away from Jarno Uppbeat. This allows Berejne to just focus on what's going on ahead of him here. Uppbeat, though, might have a chance this time around. He goes wheel to wheel with Pookie now. He's going to try the outside yet again as they run wheel to wheel, heading through towards turn one this time. Heading out to the center S is Uppbeat this time. Moves himself into third place, and in behind Ben Sabo Konyi queuing up for a chance at Istvan Pookie himself as they make their way down the stretch once again through Retro Imposter they go. They'll open the door once again through to Cidia de Largo. Can he find a way through? Sabo Konyi can't, but a switchback on the outset. A beautiful move from Ben Sabo Konyi, and wheel to wheel they run through towards the Ferradura and Laranjina.
Yeah, again, we've seen this already before from Ben Sabo Konyi, of course, with that move on Zoltan Boda. This time, though, not going to work. Straight back down the inside. The Haas is going to fire it back on the Ferrari. Istvan Pookie sent out wide. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. More contact between the pair of them as Pookie's trying to hang on. I've got to say, that Ferrari is really looking like it's struggling with getting those intermediates up to temperature. Not quite like the Mercs or the Haas behind it, because the Mercs ahead have checked out. The Haas behind's all over the rear end. And speaking of Ferraris under pressure, Warrior's going to be feeling this from a double Merc duo behind.
He certainly is. The door will be opened up fully this time around from Danny Berejne and inviting Jarno Uppbeat to join in the fight. Mercedes tag team partners here, but Warren comes into the pits now to exchange those wets for a set of intermediates. So now it's between Berejne and Uppbeat. It's Mercedes duo success here already in lap 29 of 71. Berejne leads, Uppbeat in second. A perfect Mercedes display so far. Can they carry it out to the end of the race?
Well, Dylan Warren, obviously, like I say, into the pit lane, onto intermediates. We were wondering if maybe he was going to try and hang out there and try and maybe get under some slicks. Now he's going to do a completely different strategy. Once again, these two go side by side. Ben Sabo Konyi trying to get to the outside. Istvan Pookie with the inside line. Still remains on the final step on the podium now. Still remains ahead of the Haas driver who's trying to get around the outside. Big snap of oversteer after a bit of a squeeze there coming into Ferradura.
Yeah, the grip certainly has failed this time on Ben Sabo Konyi. Zoltan Boda in behind looking for a move this time around. So already bringing the other members in behind into the mix. Mercedes, though, can just run comfortably. They got Berejne and Uppbeat right at the heads of the field. Of course, remember, Berejne started P18 on the grid with Uppbeat starting P20. They've worked their way from the back to the front, with Pookie now in third, still trying to keep Ben Sabo Konyi in behind. And running a little wide there, Zoltan Boda. Looked like he might have lost it there slightly. Some of these drivers really struggling with the tyre compounds. There's only one driver out on wets, and that's Takesh Gabor.
Yeah, like saying, one of the drivers that moved onto it, the only driver that obviously remained onto it really after the safety car, and is going to be feeling a lot of pressure here at the moment. Got a couple of cars trying to come through. Maya and Norbert Sabo Konyi in the Aston Martin is the one that's working his way fully to the inside. You can see how much that Alfa Romeo is struggling now, coming through turn 3, and Norbert Sabo Konyi picks his way past a lot of them. And also, watch out for Jenny Karatski, of course, in that Red Bull. This is going to get very sketchy down towards turn 4.
They certainly will. They remain wheel to wheel. 2 Red Bulls in the mix of this as now we see Zenograchki and Milan Meyer come together. Of course, AlphaTauri also part of the Red Bull family. Oh, goodness me. And there's a huge smash. And that will certainly be surely a safety car. It is. The safety car back out on track. David Vinch losing the suspension altogether, the tyres breaking away from the chassis, and I'd imagine there was many cars there that have now sustained damage. Milan Meyer is one of them. He's missing a front wing, and we also have Jabash Venzel, who I think, well, he's bringing his car to a crawl. I think he might have got away with it. Takesh Gabor, another one who was on the wet compounded tyre. He was pretty much served up as well with B. Danny, who was also, I think, caught up in all that too. In fact, they're going to bang wheels. And, yeah, a huge moment in the race. And David Vinch out now of the Brazilian race.
Yeah, 3 drivers then out, of course. Gabar Vida, Tamash Alroot, and now, of course, as you say, David Vince into the retirement list as a drive-through penalty for speeding under pit lane. Under safety car. That's a bit of an F. Jonas Villas, who will have to serve that one once the race gets back underway. I was going to wonder how many drivers are going to come into the pit lane. So Jarno Opmeer is certainly going to be one of those. Slick tyres for Jarno Opmeer. We know it's drying up pretty quick. But that is a bold call, and he's not the only one who's done it. Quite a few are jumping onto it. Bench Darbo, Konyi, Zoltan Boda, and Timbo.
We've used every single compound this race so far. Extraordinary scenes here. Plenty of them choosing medium tyres. Zoltan Boda, Timbo, Norbert Jabo Konyi, Ben Jabo Konyi going for the hard tyres to take him to the end of the race. Now, my telemetry is telling me that the rain's going to stop in 8 minutes' time, so we will expect, obviously, the dry weather to come into fruition. Now, under the safety car procedure, this isn't a bad thing for Jarno Opmeer. Of course, now fulfilling the move onto the slick compounded tyre, I can firmly believe that Danny Berejnay, he's got to come in this lap. He has to.
Surely. Do you know someone who's going to be really furious with how this has now happened? Obviously got very lucky with the safety car in the first time of the season, which was Dylan Warren. Now being bitten a little bit by it. Obviously was on the wet tyres, then pitted for the inters, then the safety car came out, so was dropped to the rear of the field. Now kind of remains down there. It's going to be very frustrating for at least one of the Ferrari drivers, but considering how the first 31 laps has gone, we're not halfway through this race yet. We've still got 40 on the clock left to go. This is a crazy race, George.
It is. It's extraordinary. I mean, Ben Jabo Konyi, based on his tyre selection, I'd imagine he's not factoring in the point that we're going to see rain re-emerge later on. So he's obviously factoring in that he anticipates the dry to stay with us right to the very end. So that's a very aggressive move from Ben Jabo Konyi, and he truly believes, I think, that he can carry this out right to the bitter end. Danny Berejnay opting to stay out, which is absolutely baffling. I would imagine that he would have wanted to come in, exchange onto the dry tyres. Istvan Pukki staying out as well. Zenogradski doing exactly the same. Now, is that a mistake, do you think, Lewis?
I don't know. Obviously, the thing is all the drivers are well aware as to what the rain should be doing, and there was always that quote, obviously 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, where Jenson Button won after pitting, was it twice more than anyone else, coming in for drive-through as well, and he said at that point, be on the right tyres for the current conditions. Now, right now, the intermediates are definitely the right tyres for these conditions, but everyone else is preparing for when that safety car comes in. Now, if the safety car comes in fairly sharpish, like, end of this lap or something, there may be enough time for the Inters to pull out a decent gap. But I think the slicks they kind of should be fast enough. It's very risky being on them at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll soon know when DRS becomes active again as to how dry the circuit really is. I mean, generally, as soon as that happens, we are effectively in slick territory. As we now see Danny Berejnay make his way through the middle sector, still currently under safety car ruling. I'm just still very surprised that they're remaining out in the intermediates. I think it's absolutely baffling. Istvan Pukki, Zenogradski, they're in the top 3. Jarno Opmeer with a great chance to take the absolute lead of the race should the conditions work with the tyre compound he has underneath him. Ben Jabo Konyi on 1 lap old hards. It doesn't make much sense now for Berejnay to box because, of course, regardless, he's going to lose an almighty number of places under the safety car, effectively placing him right to the tail end of the field. And should we have dry conditions right through to the end of the race, he's going to have a huge mission on his hands to certainly try and develop a positive result out of this one.
But knowing how this race goes, we just don't know. There we go, into the pit lane. Danny Berejnay is going to go.
That's going to hurt.
Istvan Pukki is not coming in, nor is Zenogradski. It is going to hurt, but sometimes it's like, look, take the pain now. You're giving yourself enough time to work your way through it. I think it might be hard, is it?
Softs.
They're soft, so they're definitely going to be another pit stop. I was going to say, if it was hard, might try and get to the end of the race if it stays dry, but they're not going to try that.
Well, Pukki's not coming in. He has stayed out, and so is Zenogradski. So we have got all sorts. Ben Siles, as well, has not opted to come in either. Neither has Biro Zalan down in 15th place. Danny Berejnay has gone for the soft tyres, so at least another stop after this one for Danny Berejnay. Same for Jarno Opmeer as well. But nonetheless, let's sit tight, everybody. Pukki, he's going to be under some severe pressure. Zenogradski, though, is going to be the first to see it because Jarno Opmeer is going to be right on their tail. He's already used 2 laps, though, on those soft tyres. But the beauty under the safety car is that they can reduce the wear, the level of wear on the tyres. Would argue that maybe those that have selected the mediums have pulled a real dub on the strategy here at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say, from some of those that were running well on these soft tyres earlier on in the race, obviously when we saw the opening stage where they're dry, the McLarens weren't, and that we do know. But we did know that Jarno was running quite well on the softs, as was Dylan Warren. So they might be able to control the softs a little bit more. I kind of agree. Right now, I would rather be on the mediums. I don't really want to be on the hards right now. The mediums are always a solid compound in these kind of conditions. You've got enough grip to deal with it, but also you've got the speed to kind of keep you in tow, and you can also have the strategy nice and open. Safety cars coming in, Esteban Pookie with the control. And remember how late he went last time. It was literally pit lane entry and then got on the throttle. I wonder if he's going to wait quite as long now. I think he probably might. He's not going to. Never mind.
Yeah, and how effective are these intermediates going to be when he puts the throttle down as he does so now, and it's pedal to the metal for the 4th time in this race now. Zenogratski getting away well. There is a gap brewing, though, between Jarno Opmeer and the Red Bull, currently sat in 2nd place. They come in towards the center S's now. No one making moves in the top 5. No changes being made apart from Gab bursting ahead of Dylan Warren at this stage. So the intermediate tyres still effective here on lap 34 of 71. And you can just see the gap now starting to formulate. 1.3 now between Opmeer and Zenogratski.
Yeah, every single driver on the intermediate tyres must run now. Ben Silas working his way past Norbert Jabo-Conyi, and now right on the rear end of Timbo. Did get past Jabos Venso as well on the race into T1. It's already picked off 2 cars for 4 corners. And, well, let's make that a 3rd car straight around the outside of Timbo. That is the example to how much more grip the Inters have right now.
Yeah, they have very, very solid grip, enough to obviously generate the delta that they require. And you can just see Ben Gilles already now breaking to within that 1.3 second gap. It's now within a second. It's cascading downwards. Look at it. And look at the gap between Opmeer and Zenogratski. 2.4. Softs might have been a mistake here for the Flying Dutchman. He's left himself exposed here, but so has Ben Jabo-Conyi. He's 1.1 seconds off Opmeer, so is not going to benefit from this, and neither is anyone else either. Gab and Danny Berejne going at it. Look at this. It's all coming to fruition. Ben Gilles is on a charge. He has just unseated Zoltan Boda.
But do remember that the delta you're looking for is around about 20 seconds. So if Jarno Opmeer can keep within 20 seconds of Esteban Pookie and Zenogratski heading into this slightly drier condition that we're expecting, literally within the next couple of laps, really. If he can keep within that 20 seconds, then this is an absolute advantage for those drivers that are on the slick tyres now. It's about playing those kind of things, and obviously then they have cards to play on you later on. This is where this race is absolutely fascinating. We're halfway through the Brazilian Grand Prix, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know which way it's going. Right now, genuinely, right now, I would rather be on the slicks than the intermediates. I know the intermediates are the tyres for now, but the slicks will be the tyres in only a couple of laps, it seems.
Well, looking on my screen and my telemetry, it's saying the rain is stopping. The rain has stopped, according to my telemetry. And look at Jarno Opmeer's delta as well, 2.6. Remember, it was beyond 3. It's 2.5. The soft tyres now going to work. He's chopped half a second off the delta between he and Zenogratski, so keep your eyes peeled on that, folks. Very soon, they're going to have company up in the top 2. And now we'll wait and see whether Ben Gilles is going to be able to hold on to that 5th place. Zoltan Boda, 1.8 behind him here. As well, B. Danny looking to make moves wheel to wheel as they come through towards Junkao. Looks to switch back against Jabos Venzel as well. The Alfa Romeo trying to block off the approach. Is it going to be enough? Into the pits comes Pookie. So in they come. Jarno Opmeer takes the lead of the race, and DRS is enabled.
Yeah, like I say, smart stuff there. And like I say, seeing Danny Benzer trying to make a move now, finds himself in 6th position in this race. The driver that we were on board with just a moment ago after working his way past Milan Mayer. But what a fantastic time for Jarno Opmeer to take the race lead. We've still got halfway to go. And hey, this is Brazil after all. This is Interlagos, and we might see some more rain as Danny Berejne gets past Gabor Takashi. Both the Alfa Romeo started out so strong. They're struggling a little bit through this mid-portion. Wow, that was aggressive.
It was aggressive, very aggressive, but Danny needs to go to work. He's on soft tyres now and is trying to break through this plethora of those on the medium tyres. Oh, big mistake from the Alpine. Bit of a tank slapper heading through. B. Danny under pressure from Milan Mayer. Remember, he lost his front wing earlier on. He's now recovering, but now Danny Berejne looking to become a thorn in the side of the AlphaTauri as they swoop through. Danny inside from Berejne. Very daring. Harem scarum from Danny Berejne. As well, the Hungarian now looking to climb up through towards Junkao. Stellar move there from Danny Berejne, and that's exactly why he's a Mercedes F1 Esports driver, putting certainly his best to the forefront, and is now looking to challenge B. Danny for that 6th place.
Yeah, did not half-heartedly commit going for a beacon of power, and I don't think we'll see the same thing into this NRS. I think he's going to absolutely send one down the inside of Danny Benzer as they head their way through into T1. Milan Mayer is also going to try and slot the gap and send his AlphaTauri through, but gets denied by the Alpine driver. Fantastic stuff from Denny Berejne, then he finds himself now in 6th position, 2.4 up to the next car. I think we're going to see quite a few more moves from Mercedes driver over the next few laps. Dylan Warren in the background.
Yeah, Dylan Warren also making a move, heading in towards the city of Delago, moves up ahead of Jabosch Wenzel as well. So that's the top 10 places for Dylan Warren. Remember, he was plummeted to the back earlier on after having to make a really, unfortunate strategy call that planted the Ferrari from where it was right at the top to the bottom of the classification, and has now since recovered to the top 10. So a stellar display, and really has been, it has been a real test of strategy now as he makes a move down the inside on Takesh Gabel. That is a fantastic move again from Dylan Warren. And flexing the muscles behind the Scuderia as he climbs the hill once again. Junkau beckons, and then it's around. Sabiba does boxes on the right-hand side in towards turn 14, turn 15, and then the start-finish line once again. Jarno Opmeer showing the pace on the soft tyres, fastest lap of the race, a 1:10.423, and no doubt that'll serve him well. But Danny Berejne steals it straight away.
Yeah, which, again, it's not so much of a shock right now. It's more about keeping those soft tyres in. If we are going to be dry to the checkered flag, Ben Szabo Konyi in that 2nd position, hard tyres, got to say, it's probably going to that checkered flag. So Jarno Opmeer needs to pull out quite a comfortable gap before maybe requiring to make another pit. I don't think that the softs are almost certainly not going to reach it to lap 71. But yeah, maybe another stint of softs and going full attack. Be very exciting to see, but there might be some late race drama between the top two. And that's, to be fair, that's also thinking, well, if we don't get rain and we don't get another safety car, which I think the Ferraris will probably want another safety car. They've looked so strong so far this season, and now finding themselves down in 9th and 12th.
Yeah, it's been less than ideal. I think the one car that Jarno Opmeer can play, I mean, if he wanted to, he could box onto the mediums and give himself some wiggle room. I mean, given his pace, I mean, he definitely has the ability. Remember, Ben Szabo Konyi on the hard tyres, and he's going to have to commit to those, I think, at this stage, and he's going to sacrifice a lot of pace. Danny Berejne, though, is certainly not going to be sacrificing any pace. He's certainly electrified on the soft tyres. DRS opened up. He's going to make a move down the inside, heading in towards turn 1. Indeed, Norbert Szabo Konyi can't stop him. The Mercedes-powered Aston Martin tried to wrestle him off, but Danny Berejne, brilliance again here in lap 39.
Looked like he was racing AI there. Just sent it down the inside and said, look, you can deal with this one, Mr. Aston Martin. Bish, bash, bosh. Danny Berejne out into the top 5. I think it won't be too long before we see him hanging on to the final step on the podium, because Zoltan Boda's not that far ahead. You've got Timbo to pass, obviously, in the McLaren, but we know the McLaren starts to struggle a little bit on its tyres as the stint goes on. Zoltan Boda in the AlphaTauri will be under pressure. I think Berejne is going to be through in the 3rd position, either in maybe not, this lap, but maybe in the next lap or so, as he tries to get around the outside of Big Pato. Never mind.
Yep, stellar overtake again from Danny Berejne. Really has added a bit of flash and flare into the affair here at Brazil. And now two Mercedes once again see themselves in the top 4. So, pit stop delay, no problem for Danny Berejne. Has brought it right back to the forefront. Is now gunning down after the other AlphaTauri of Zoltan Boda. Remember, he overtook Milan Meyer earlier on. Fancies to go at Boda this time around for a podium place. But he, of course, will have to box again, much like Opmeer will. Dylan Warren also making the places. Now up to 7th as well, ahead of Milan Meyer. And the Ferrari will now gun after Norbert Szabo Konyi, just as Danny Berejne did only a matter of a lap or so ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, we're seeing some of the faster drivers working their way up from the rear of the field, which we've seen that happen quite a few times already this afternoon, and we've still got 31 laps of racing left to go. Danny Berejne on the rear and the Zoltan Boda not getting through the T4 like I thought he might do. Now getting down the inside as we head through 5 into 6 of Ferradura. Danny Berejne does find himself onto the final step of the podium. 5.2 seconds now ahead. He can let these soft tyres absolutely attack Interlagos as he tries to close down on Ben Szabo Konyi. Fantastic stint thus far from Berejne.
He's making it look oh so easy, isn't he? Heading through the Larangina into SA corner, out of the Ferradura. It was a stellar delivery from the man in the Mercedes, and Berejne once again proving why he is among the best in the world. Mercedes currently sat 1st and 3rd with Ben Szabo Konyi locked in between. There's quite a gap between Berejne and Szabo Konyi, 4.4 between the Haas and Jarno Opmeer up at the front end, and 5.2 seconds in behind. Dylan Warren again making places, moves up to 6 ahead of Norbert Szabo Konyi. Timbo is going to be next up for him, as is Zoltan Boda, pretty much following suit with what Danny Berejne has just done as well. Only this time, Warren is on the medium tyres and he's knocking down other drivers on the same compound with the same lifespan.
Gotta say, yeah, Danny Berezna, who won the drive of the day back in Monza, if memory serves, I think he'll probably be up for it this time as well with the performance he's put on. Certainly getting my vote over the last few laps. Honestly, incredible. But this is where the concern starts to maybe step in. Those two drivers, Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berezna, on the soft tyres. You've got Benjamin Conyi, who's been so good. So obviously finished in second position at the last round at Monza, currently running in the second position on the hard tyres, maybe cleared to run for the next 30 laps at the end of the race. Those drivers on the medium tyres between, maybe they're going to go on the softs for the final stint. Maybe they're just going to go for another stint at medium to be able to push all the way to the checker flag. Who knows? I don't know which side I'd want to be on, but there might be a couple of concerns incoming for those soft runners.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Opmeer now launching 11 laps on his soft tyres. The gap, though, still sits at 4.8 as Dylan Moran gets closer to the back of Timbo, and Timbo himself on the tail of Zoltan Boda as well. So now we've got 3 cars currently very much tied together. Boda now has got to try and keep them behind. Does not, well, he does have DRS for now, but Danny Berezna is soon to break that chain. And Boda is going to be under attack here from the McLaren in behind, but I think he's going to be more concerned about the Ferrari that is looming large on him as they now peel through the Ferragura section at turn 6 and into the Larangina at turn 7, turn 8 into Essay, and then the Pinarino at turn 9 as well. There you can see Timbo half a second away from Zoltan Boda, but Dylan Warren now knocking at that door this time around as they make their way in towards Bico to Pato, a switch back from Warren. Oh, brilliant! Massive move there from Dylan Warren and escalated the situation perfectly there, launching the Ferrari into the top 5 and is now going to chase down after Zoltan Boda for a potential 4th place.
Yeah, exactly. I say a couple of moves incoming once more, and Dylan Warren. I think the important thing for Warren right now is the gap between himself and Danny Berezna is not that big, and he is flying right now. And so, yeah, maybe he's going to be knocking at the door for a podium, which again would be crazy because obviously not long ago I thought, well, maybe he's going to struggle for points here and that. Of course he's not. This is our championship leader we're talking about here in the Ferrari. Timbo continues to find himself inside the points paying position as we ride on board with him. Obviously, struggling a little bit this afternoon. Again, concerns of tyre wear. Surely at this point you've got to be thinking about what tyres you're going to be on in the last stint.
Yeah.
Like you're already preparing that mentally. Is there any rain on the horizon, or are we running dry to the end? I'm trusting you with this information.
Well, at the moment, it's saying no rain expected, so we're not expecting any wet weather. And I think this is why Ben Zaboconi opted for the hards, because I think he was just hoping that he can just take those to the end. He knows that Opmeer's got to stop. So at this moment in time, Ben Zaboconi is the net leader of this Grand Prix.
Realistically, yeah. But then we don't know if Ben Zaboconi maybe we'll need to come into. You really shouldn't do on the hards. Some miles out wide, taking my line through the penultimate corner. I think that might have been Danny Benzer.
Yeah, I think it might be. As we now see Dylan Warren again looking to try and make moves. He's going to favour that inside line, cuts the pit lane line coming across, and instantly pops himself ahead of Zoltan Boda, utilising that DRS. Boda did not have any DRS because Danny Berezna has launched himself higher and higher and away from danger with P4 in behind. Dylan Warren now occupying that 4th place spot, and he's going to look to put the burners on this time around. Knows that Berezna will need to stop again as well. Already 11 laps accrued on the softs, and you do have to wonder, Opmeer and Berezna, potentially, I mean, they might get to 18 laps on these tyres, do you think?
Maybe a little longer if they're playing their cards right, but then it's kind of like the whole question of like, dependent on what tyres they're going to go on to next, because to be fair, again, just to clarify, they can go onto another set of soft tyres if they wish, right? Because there's no requirement, no mandate as to what tyres you must take from now on, because obviously we've had a rain interruption. Once you go into the intermediates or the wets, your requirement to use 2 compounds of the dry compound.
Well, they've used 2 compounds. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's null and void at that stage. So there's no need to worry about that particular instance or the rules coming in towards the tail end of this race. And obviously, if they want to choose, they obviously want to be on the fastest tyres possible. If they've got another set of softs available, surely they're going to want to use them, right?
That's what I would want to do. If I were in Opmeer's position, Danny Berezna's position, and we've got another set of softs, I'd maybe want to look after these softs a little bit more and go on to softs for the next stint. If you can get them to 18 laps, you can probably get them to 20. And if you can get them to 20, well, then you can do another stint of 20 and get to the checkered flag, right? It's a little bit harder than that, but you never know. As here comes Mr. Van Pookie. See if we can get past.
Yeah, wheel to wheel again as they make their way in towards the city of Delago, and a nice smooth move from Mr. Van Pookie into the points paying positions. 9 laps on those medium tyres, the freshest of the bunch in the top 10. and is now looking to try and charge up now on Takesh Gabor, who was actually, I think he actually made the move heading down the home straight. They're not far away from Milan Meyer in 8th either, 1.6 between the Alfa Romeo and the Alfa Tauri. But Pookie might yet cause a disturbance or an interruption as they make their way through Bico de Pato and in towards the next double left-handers that currently line up as they make their way up the hill. Jun Chao now, and in towards the Sabiba Doz boxes for yet another time. And then they'll cross the line, beginning the next lap. Jana Watmir, though, taking them round already, as now we see Pookie once again look to open up that DRS.
Yeah, it's a quick lap round here. We see a lot of them fly past, which means if you don't get past now, you'll wait for the next opportunity to overtake. It's not exactly long down the road as Esteban Pookie works his way now into 9th position. That was a nice, easy one, and the DRS has picked up a penalty, though. I'm assuming that's probably track limit, just to be perfectly honest, for Esteban Pookie. You do get quite a few of them around here, particularly at the final corner in Sao. And again, on the exit at T4, you can get quite a few of them here if you run a little bit too far wide. Don't see too many going there at the moment, but that's certainly one where you can pick one up. Obviously, Pookie's going to rejoin the back of this train fairly soon, which is helped at the moment by the lead of Timbo, Zoltan Boda behind, Norbert Jabo Konyi, and then Milan Meyer, and then, of course, Esteban Pookie. 1.3 seconds. That'll be nothing in no time. No,
absolutely right indeed. Timbo actually making a move on Zoltan Boda only moments ago and managed to hold place in that 5th spot as well at 2.7 seconds behind Dylan Warren, who has now managed to break away and is actually closing up this time on Danny Berejnay. So keep your eyes peeled on Dylan Warren, everybody. This could be a stellar showing, and obviously remember, he was the winner back at Monza. He could yet become a 2-time race winner should he close up. Obviously, Danny Berejnay trying to close up here on Ben Shabakoni, and he's not doing a bad job of it either, nearly breaking into that 3-second mark as well. Zoltan Boda coming straight back at Timbo, of course sharing the same tyre life at this stage, all on mediums. Norbert Jabokoni doing the same, Milan Meyer as well on the same compounded tyre, but Esteban Pookie dragging himself into the fight, is within DRS range of Milan Meyer. Remember, he was outside of the range only a moment ago, only a lap or so ago at the very least, and has now brought himself within the tail end of this fight.
And Boda did not want to go for a move there. Really could have done at T4 if he really decided to. But decided, let's be a little bit more patient now. Again, you don't have to wait too long before your next overtake an opportunity. And maybe it's about now, it's about looking after the tyres. Though looking after the tyres in someone else's dirt, it's not exactly the easiest outcome. By the way, the soft tyres, they're definitely getting done right now because Jana Watmir is getting closed down on bit by Ben Shabakoni. There's a move to the inside from Esteban Pookie. That is so aggressive into Bico de Pato. That one is not going to work out for Pookie, but you're seeing a couple of drivers be a bit more apprehensive when it comes to move. Pookie is not one of them.
No, he's not, and has won league races several times over using this same mentality, the same commanding personality out on track, though Milan Meyer answering back in the best possible way by attacking Norbert Jabokoni, and way before the entrance into turn 1, it will be Milan Meyer into 7th place. Alpha Tauri occupying 6th and 7th in tandem as well as they look to launch an attack on Timbo for 5th place.
I think that was more like dumping the battery for defence, and then actually, no, I can go past Norbert Jabokoni here. That's what Esteban Pookie's going to try and do, coming down to T4, riding on board with the Ferrari driver, almost making contact with the Aston Martin, working his way past into the Retroposta. Brilliant move there from Esteban Pookie, so brave and aggressive once more. I think Norbert Jabokoni might have used a little bit too much of his battery. There could be another move coming in from the Ferrari driver here.
It certainly will be, keeping tight to the inside, but it'll soon become the outside, so he'll lose the Tiger line. Heading through the next left-hander, coming through towards the next heavy braking zone. He might try it again because this is a move that he is so fond of. Not choosing to opt for it this time around though, but look at P4, Dylan Warren within DRS range now on Danny Berejnay. Incredible how he's managed to rein that delta in so quickly. The soft's definitely dying off because Danny Berejnay now 4.2 seconds away. He's lost 1 second and 3/10 on Ben Jabokoni in 2nd.
But look at Dylan Warren. Dylan Warren's going to go through into 3rd position surely immediately as we can once again see this fight. Zoltan Boda, Timbo, Milan Meyer dropping back to the rear of this one. Dylan Warren did not go through just yet, but I think he might try to do so into T4 as Timbo drops into 7th position. This is on board with Dylan Warren. Not close enough on Danny Berejnay. And you heard they're lifting early. That tells me either looking after the car from either a fuel standpoint or maybe even just not pushing the tyres 110%. Might want to go medium. Might want to try and save the tyres for long enough to go onto the soft for a final, 18-lap dash to the end.
Yeah, absolutely right. 49 of 71, and it certainly looks like Warren is going to be applying the pressure this time on Berejnay. Of course, Danny Berejnay with the fastest lap of the race so far. I can tell you that Dylan Warren not far off that best lap either. In fact, incredible to note that only Danny Berejnay and Dylan Warren have actually posted lap times in the 109s. How incredible is that?
That is impressive. Again, they're incredibly fast, but when you do so, obviously you take a lot out of your tyres. I think Opmir might have been running this one to a number. He's so good at doing so. Let's see if there's going to be a move here from Dylan Warren, the Scuderia Ferrari driver at the moment, trying to get past the Mercedes. Pulls out the slipstream straight around the outside, easy as you like. Drop the battery and, of course, open the DRS. And the Ferrari driver works his way into third position. Winner in the opening round of the season, looking for back-to-back podiums here. Same as Ben Charbot-Cognier, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ben Charbot-Cognier, of course, finishing second last time at Monza. Looks set to perhaps do the same. Well, exactly the same again. It won't be the same, though, for Istvan Pukki, the way it's going. Not only is he where he is, but also he's got a penalty. It's the two AlphaTauri swap places. Milan Mayer, though, getting nudged in the rear from Zoltan Boda. That might have been the domino effect from Istvan Pukki, though, however, who is swarming all over the rear. How about that for a move, though? This time from Istvan Pukki was very aggressive around the outside. Once again, that aggression at the forefront here at Interlagos. It's a pleasure to watch, and we'd love to see it. Obviously, a man determined to make places here in this late stage.
Here he goes, back down the inside as they head into Biga de Pato, but that one's going to work out in favour of Zoltan Boda. He's tried that one a couple of times as Istvan Pukki. He needs to learn from what Danny Berejnay did a bit of earlier on, where he went around the outside going into Biga de Pato. Obviously that line was being taken by Zoltan Boda, and I get the feeling with a bit of battery dump and the DRS open, this could be an easy move for him.
I think so as well, right on the tail of the AlphaTauri. But look at the straight line speed coming away from Zoltan Boda as they make their way down into turn one. He's going to take that 5th place, but Pukki wants to get at least something out of this. Takes the other AlphaTauri of Milan Mayer instead. Wheel to wheel they stay on the outset now of this set of races through towards the Retta Imposta. They remain side by side. In behind as well, Timbo coming into the fight. 3 wide in towards turn 4. Sensational scenes. Pukki with an almighty send. Oh, that's sensational. Istvan Pukki in 6th place. He defended against the pair of them. Timbo asked the question. Milan Mayer stayed in 7th, but Pukki advanced his cause, and now he's on a charge against Zoltan Boda. Down the inside into the next right-hander. Stellar stuff for the Ferrari. The prancing horse into 5th place. Double Ferrari representation in the top 5.
We might be here for a bit of banter, George, and having a bit of a laugh here on this evening. But I'll tell you, we're getting some quality racing between this group. Like, genuinely, 2 races down in the season. Obviously, we've got 20 laps still left in this one. We are seeing some absolutely incredible teams. The amount of respect, but the bravery there from the entire group was honestly incredible. Big sense from everyone, space given, bold driving. That is what we need to see in the world of sim racing if we're going to make this move and be taken seriously. Brilliant effort.
Yeah, Pukki's been a pleasure to watch all race long. I mean, I know he's got his issues with the, with the time penalties and everything else, but just the sheer aggression. But it's easy to be aggressive on track, but well-placed aggression, Lewis McGlade. That's a different factor altogether.
Yeah, you can't just be aggressive from lap 1 to lap 71. You've got to pick and choose your time of doing so. And Istvan Pukki, like I say, seems to get a little bit calm and then goes, right, let me just crack my neck and I'm going to send it. And Bish, straight down the inside. Bosch getting past and Bash out of the corner running away. Obviously, you've got a car going a lap down here. That will be Zelan Biro dropping back down a lap in his Williams. So a bit of a shame there, but obviously I think AI might be in control of that vehicle. That's fine. The thing is, though, I think the important thing to note now, as you bring up the tyre graphic, surely
I didn't do that, by the way. That's automated. That is it? That is automated. So that's nothing to do with me.
I give you credit there, George.
I know. Hey, listen, I can't take all the credit, mate. Honestly, the AI takes the credit for most of the stuff with the F1 game. But it's incredible. No, I mean, look, I totally agree with you. I mean, also going back to Pukki now, I mean, he's in a bit of no man's land though now, right? I mean, obviously there's not a lot he can do as we now see Timbo overtake Norbert Charbot-Cognier. I give credit to Timbo as well. I mean, he's been well up against it. 1.2 seconds now away from Milan Mayer. Remember, he was in that fight, but he's done well to hold his position. As I say that, Norbert Charbot-Cognier takes P8 away from him.
Yeah, I say just trying to work their way back up the order, and obviously Norbert Charbot-Cognier is trying to make sure that it's not just Ben Charbot-Cognier taking all the credit of the Charbot-Cogniers. I can't remember where Norbert finished in the first round. I don't believe. Oh, it was the final points pay position. It was 10th place, and of course running a couple higher in this one in what has been a pretty crazy run through the race. With the percentages that we saw on tyres, by the way, that we saw there. Do you reckon quite a lot of these medium tyres runners are going to be able to get to the end of the race from now?
Well, this is the puzzling factor. I mean, we're already at now 22 laps on the mediums. I'm keen to see when Uppbeat decides to box on these softs. The one thing I will say, he hasn't lost too much delta because Ben Jabba-Connie has remained 4.5 seconds away and has not broken within the 3-second mark at all, or none of that. So I'm actually quite compelled as to how this is going to unfold. I mean, I would argue and say that obviously Ben Jabba-Connie is in the clear at this stage. I mean, those hard tyres are going to go to the very end. He's got a great chance at taking the victory this time around, but will, of course, depending on how the strategy formulates towards the very end. I mean, I'm fully expecting Uppbeat and Berejnay to box, but you've made a good point here. Are the mediums going to have enough in terms of the minerals to get to the end of this race?
Well, I mean, this is where you need to be able to pull up that graphic immediately. We can have a great discussion.
Unfortunately, it's not possible. No.
You're not in control of that one.
No.
It's random. It's up to the game of chance. Ooh, no. I will say, Uppbeat, I think the pace is very controlled from Uppbeat at the moment, to the point where it's like, do you know what? If he can make those softs go to the end, I wouldn't actually be shocked. The reason why I say that is we're 23 laps, 24 laps now into the stint. He's not made a move into the pit lane as of yet. And if you are running soft, knowing that you're not actually pulling out much of a gap from Ben Jabba-Connie right now, if I knew that I needed to go onto another set of softs or means whatever, I would have done that a long time ago.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, and I'm intrigued to see what Uppbeat is thinking is here. Maybe you were right earlier on. Go for that double soft stint towards the end of the race. I think that is definitely something that's on the cards as Takesh Gabor now moves up into 8th place ahead of Norbert Jabba-Connie. Bidani still in 10th and remains within near enough 2/10 of the cars in front of him. Bidani, of course, remember, pole sitter from last time's qualifying session at Monza, but well, certainly not on this occasion, as that plaudit went to Ben Jabba-Connie himself, as we now witness the cars make their way through the middle sector. Jarno Uppbeat still consolidating that 4.5-second advantage. Now, we saw Danny Berejnay losing time. He did lose time away from Ben Jabba-Connie earlier on, so Uppbeat are doing a wonderful job on these soft tyres. And they're older than Berejnay's.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to get Jarno Uppbeat into the pit lane. I'm going to say something now. I don't think Jarno Uppbeat is pitting. I think he's going straight to the end of the race. Now what's going to happen is at the end of this lap, he's going to come into the pit lane. But
the commentator's curse is real.
I said it now. If he does pit, the commentator's curse still isn't real because this is tragical. I don't think he's pitting. I think he's going to the end of the race.
Wow, major call from Lewis McGlade. Obviously,
this is my second race in F1.
Oh, here's the tyre graphic. It's the tyre graphic that you so humbly wanted. 42% on the front left, 44. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, he could go longer on these. He can go longer. I mean, we've seen drivers take it into the 50s, sometimes even the 60s, but they do tend to fall off. But whether Uppbeat does plan to stop again, I definitely think another set of softs are on the cards. He might take it to lap 60 and go for an 11-lap burst on the next soft compounded tyres.
I just don't know why you would do that though. Like why you would go for 10 laps on them. Why wouldn't you split them more evenly and do like 15-15 or 20-20? Rather be closer to the real number. I don't fully know. Like you say, with where that percentage was, from what the briefers that I know, is that past up to about 25% they're fine. Past 25% they kind of drop a little bit, and like I say, past 50% they're kind of no good. Whilst the percentage number looks fine, realistically speaking, those tyres are fairly trash. Yeah, I don't know. He's staying out on the track. I don't know.
Danny's coming in.
I can see Uppbeat giving it a go.
Well, we can see now that Danny Berejnay is coming into the pits to take his set of soft tyres off. Now, remember, his aren't as fresh as Jarno's. Of course, nothing's fresh at this stage for 24 laps and 26 laps of racing. And indeed, another soft tyre. Sorry?
Commentary booth is fresh, mate.
It's very fresh in the commentary booth at the moment, with us currently representing it right now, Lewis McGlade. Coming off the back of Sweden, we're now, showing our faces on the WOR broadcast, and we're now up in the prestige of WOR as well at the same time. So, exactly. G2 Luke can thank us later on.
Yeah, exactly. He can thank us. We're not thanking him for the opportunity. He can thank us for sparing the time. God, I've got such an ego in here. No, the thing is, I don't know which way this is going to go. With Berejnay pitting, that surely is surely Uppbeat is going to pit then, but then he's not. To be fair though, what I was going to say earlier is that if Uppbeat does stay out to the checkered flag, I mean, what a time to give it a go, just to see. Because let's be honest, if you do win this race, cool. If you don't win this race, also cool. it is what it is. You might as well. Doing all these things in practice and trying to work out how it works in practice is one thing. You know you're going to lose time at this point, but trying to do it in a race is completely different. That's where you really learn the details.
Well, I mean, if he achieves this at this point, taking these tyres the distance, I mean, finally Ben Charbonnet has broken to within 4.4 seconds, so he is starting to make some headway. But I mean, Ben Charbonnet's got to be careful here too, because these hards, it's not as if you can push them right through to the course, right through the end of this race. I mean, I know they have only 27 laps, and I know they can go a lot further than the softs. But you got to remember they too will lose their effectiveness, and if he puts the burners on for the next for the next several laps just to break into that 4.4 second gap, he will pay the price come the end of the race.
Do you think Jarno Opmeer is definitely going to pit?
I think so.
Okay, right. If Jarno, here's the deal. If Jarno pits, I'll buy you a beverage when we go and play golf. And if he doesn't pit, he's pitting.
I thought
No, he was. No, he's not. He's fine.
Lewis,
I thought I was down a fiver then.
Lewis McGlade just broke a sweat, everybody.
Genuinely.
Outrageous. Oh, wow. Commentator's curse is real. Believe it.
That was honestly the way he was angling that. I was like, don't do this to me, Jarno.
He'd do it for me. He'd do it for me. Anything to get me a beverage any day of the week. Incredible. 4.5 seconds, though. He has still managed to maintain the pace. Danny Berejnay, though, setting the fastest lap. 1:09.5 now for Danny Berejnay, and he's got to put those to work because he's in P11, and definitely anticipate now Danny to be rapid for the remaining laps in this race.
Yeah, they say it's got to be a full push for Danny Berejnay. This is where you leave nothing on the table, not a tenth of a second at any corner. No mistakes, must be perfect. Absolutely lob the smoke around. And to be fair, as soon as he closes up to the back of Norbert Charbonnet, that's where the fun really begins here. Picking your way through against a load of drivers who are on tyres, 25, 30 laps old when you're on some brand new softs. This is like multi-class racing at Le Mans, Daytona. You're driving one of those brand new hypercars or LMDHs and absolutely flying through the pack.
Yeah, and the other drivers are driving Nissan Micras. Jarno's in the pits! George Morgan wins the pit. Fantastic. There we go. Thank you very much, Mr. Opmeer. Oh, someone's round. It's Norbert Charbonnet. He spun it on the run up through towards Junkau. Danny Berejnay, though, is now making his way through the field. He's going to be picking them off left, right, and centre. Double overtake can become a triple. Heading into the centre. S is late on the brakes. He dares to dream. Danny Berejnay now in 8th place and now hunting down after beat Danny. Surely the move will be made heading in towards turn 4.
Yeah, this one should be an easy one. DRS once again open, and the Mercedes will fire its way through 6th and 7th now for the Mercedes duo. Obviously, Jarno Opmeer fresh out of the pit lane, medium tyres on board. Don't know why that call wasn't made earlier on, but either way, he's going to push for 12 laps to try and close back up. We're on lap 60 of the 71. There is plenty of time for Jarno Opmeer to at least close back, maybe grab a podium. But I think victory's gone with that.
It's a possibility. Jarno basically stating apparently that he has run out of soft tyres, so he can't use any additional softs. Yeah. Danny Berejnay right now is putting in purple sectors lap on lap here. His last lap being a 1:08.329, which blasts away the previous 1:09 that he set prior, and now he looks set to once again put in another fastest lap of the race. He's purple in the first 2 sectors. Danny Berejnay on 3-lap-old softs. Let's check this one out. It could be a 1:07. Makes his way up towards the line this time around. What's it going to be for Danny Berejnay? Not quite. Still a 1:08.329 under his belt. Lost a lot of time in the 3rd sector.
But so fast at the moment as Jarno Opmeer is already knocking at the back of Zoltan Boda. This is going to be a very fascinating end to the race. You can hear the DRS there closing once more as we ride on board facing forward with Jarno Opmeer. This is the sector here where the tyres make the most difference. Flying it through Ferradura, flying it through these awkward, tight little twisty sectors where you need the suspension of the tyre to be working at top draw. This is where you feel that advantage, especially when your right foot goes near the throttle pedal. Yeah, he's not... Look at that!
Not wasting any time. He can go later on the brakes than anybody. Through the next right-hander he goes, and he'll tee up a double run through the next sequence of left-handers, and then make his way down the straight this time around. And Milan Mayer must know that it certainly is going to be apparent that Jarno Opmeer is going to burst past him any moment now as we ride on board with the Flying Dutchman yet again, who truly is flying on this brand new set of medium tyres. Going past Milan Mayer on his lap, 30-lap-old tyres. Jarno Uppbeat back in the top 4 and is hunting down after the dual Ferraris of Dylan Warren and Istvan Pukki.
I think he'll be able to get at least Istvan Pukki. To be fair, I think Jarno Uppbeat will be able to get to Dylan Warren. I just think that the race lead might be a little bit too far down the road. It's 12 seconds from now. Maybe a final lap thriller. Who knows? I get the feeling if Jarno Uppbeat had pitted earlier, we would definitely be looking at Uppbeat potentially attacking Bench-Sabo Konyi going into the final moments of the race. But I mean, maybe we still will. Who knows? This is where the excitement really comes from. Milan Mayer, we're feeling the pressure now from Danny Berejny. That's aggressive. Woof, that's a good move, though.
Yeah, sent it down the inside and managed to pull it off as well. A stellar overtake there from Danny Berejny. Of course, very heavy on the brake pedal as well. If any of you have seen him in action when it comes to the rig, he's absolutely formidable on it in real life. Amazing how he doesn't put a hole in his wall given the amount of force he puts on the brakes sometimes. He goes so late and was able to do so as well, considering the levels of grip he'll have on those softs. He is closing up to his Mercedes teammate, but Jarno Uppbeat, as a consequence now, also putting the burners on as he looks to go around the outside of Istvan Pukki, who is now going to be certainly lying in wait as the Mercedes bursts past the Ferrari. Third place for Jarno Uppbeat, and now has 4 seconds to find on Dylan Warren in second. I'm sure he'll hoover that up because Warren is on 32 lap-old medium tyres.
I'll take this back a little bit because I think Jarno might actually catch Bench-Sabo Konyi. He's absolutely flying at the moment. Yeah, as to be expected right now, and it almost seems though he's getting faster and faster. Maybe Bench-Sabo Konyi and Dylan Warren, obviously with their worn tyres, keeping concentration around Interlagos, especially through this middle sector, is becoming a little bit harder and harder. We've only got 8 laps left to go in this race. Passing, there's the whole thing of like getting to someone is one thing, passing them is the other. But these days, with how the battery works and how the DRS works, and to be honest, just with how these cars are, I don't actually think passing's as difficult. Because there are so many opportunities around Interlagos where you can make a move, mostly courtesy of the DRS. Yeah, I mean, Jarno's absolutely flying right now.
Well, I can tell you this. I reckon Jarno is going to be in touching distance of P1 within the next 5 or 6 laps. I'm looking at it right now. He is currently lapping plus 2 seconds faster a lap than Bench-Sabo Konyi. Bench-Sabo Konyi's last lap was a 1:11.387. It's a 1:09.327 on the last lap for Jarno Uppbeat. He's put in the burners on, and he is going to be on the attack on the Ferrari and the Haas in front of him right now. So Dylan Warren is going to be quaking in his boots. Danny Berejny also ushering in fast lap times as well. His laps on the softs, while they have been used a little bit, was 0.3 slower than Jarno's previous lap. So it's definitely the pace with the Flying Dutchman here in the closing stages of the race. We have got 7 laps or 6.5 laps of Uppbeat ahead of us here in this race at Interlagos. Strap yourselves in, folks. This is going to be a doozy.
Yeah, I think Dylan Warren might put up quite a fight to Jarno Uppbeat here, to try and keep Uppbeat at bay. I don't think Dylan Warren's going to be able to do it, but to be fair, for him, the more he keeps Uppbeat at bay, the less likely he is to catch Bench-Sabo Konyi. The time penalty is obviously going to be dished out. Track limits might be becoming a fair issue. Gabby's obviously picked up a 3-second time penalty. There might be a couple of cars fairly close to picking up a time penalty. I think this move might come down to T4, to be perfectly honest. I think Jarno Uppbeat might be able to fly past straight when he might need to.
I think so too. He wants to get past the Ferrari as soon as possible, and will have a chance coming out of the center S's. Let's see if he can open up the Ferrari like a tin of beans right now. Wheel to wheel they remain. He doesn't even need turn 4. He'll do it on the outset of the center S's. He'll burst past Dylan Warren now, who cannot stop the Flying Dutchman. He is now in second place. Jarno Uppbeat putting the pressure now upon Bench-Sabo Konyi for the race win. It could happen in the space of 2 to 3 laps time, which would mean, brace yourself, lap 68 is when we could see the move for the lead of the race being undertaken.
Look, I always knew this was going to happen. I was just building up the drama and the intrigue or something. No, I can't defend it. I mean, honestly, it shows with someone like Jarno Uppbeat, you give him an awkward strategy.
He's just gone purple in the first 2 sectors. And bear in mind, he is on medium tyres. This could be a 107 right here. Let's see it as he now makes his way down through towards the start-finish line. 69 in Sector 1, 34.3 in Sector 2. What's this going to be? It's a 108-1, very nearly in the 107s, and actually puts Danny Berejny's best lap of a 108.329 in its place, 1.5 seconds quicker than his teammate.
Obviously got to remember he's on 3 laps newer tyres, and of course the fuel load is lower at the moment. Maybe saved up a little bit of battery and is going after it, but Yeah, again, leaving absolutely nothing on the table to see that we might say, goodness me, I can speak English, both Mercs on the podium, because obviously Dylan Warren is going to come under fair pressure from Danny Berejne, fairly sharpish, and we might not see Warren on the podium for the second consecutive race, which might mean that we're going to see a new championship leader. Even if they finish in second position, I believe Benchabo Konyi might take over the lead of the championship from Dylan Warren, who obviously has 25 points at the moment to the name. Fourth is 12, and so he'd hang on by 1 point if he finishes in fourth.
Well, I tell you what, it could be sooner than lap 68. It could yet be lap 67. I tell you what, Benchabo Konyi currently sat in first place, but that delta is being definitely chomped down upon. 1.3 seconds now away from P1 glory is Jarno Opmeer here in the Ironman League, brought to you as well by Timbo and also the league at WOR as well. They've put so much hard work into this, and it's definitely captured the attention, inspired many, including that of Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berejne, who really do enjoy being part of this as well. They make their way through towards the city of Delago. Timbo as well up into 9th place. Dylan Warren losing out on P3 with Danny Berejne now occupying the top 3. So it's Mercedes 2 and 3, but it's soon to be, I'm sure, a Mercedes 1 and 3, at least for now, unless Danny Berejne can also join his teammate to maybe also lay down the attack upon Benchabo Konyi. Is Opmeer going to get this done sooner rather than later? Let's find out. Of course, he will have another straight to do it in, Lewis, but I get the feeling that Benchabo Konyi's number could yet be up.
Down into T1, surely. I just get the feeling that at the moment, Jarno, where he's picking up the most speed is on exits of corners like this. Benchabo Konyi's going to be feeling the pressure, little bit of battery dump, and then with the DRS open, this is surely going to be done. Jarno Opmeer's about to take over the lead.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it will be done on lap 68 as well, just as they cross the line. Will he get it done in towards the center S's? Not quite. He's going to remain in behind the Haas. Benchabo Konyi's put up a tremendous fight. Hard tyres now. A 37-lap stint, though, is going to come to an end at the front end, because here comes Jarno Opmeer now as he breaks into the rear wing of the Haas driver now, who goes full defensive heading in towards turn 4. Defends brilliantly, though. You've got to give him credit. He is not taking this line down. The question is, can he keep this up heading through the final 3 laps of the race? I think it's going to be all too much.
Yeah, exactly. I don't quite know how he's going to be able to do so. If he can keep Jarno Opmeer behind him for like a lap or so, that'll almost like negate the advantage that Opmeer's got. It's all about that closing speed and pouncing early. If Benchabo Konyi can keep him behind, things will look a little bit simpler. But again, I just get the feeling right now, all Opmeer's going to be doing, stick the battery on the most recharge. Don't use any through here. Just use the tyre grip, and then just prepare once more to dump it as we begin this enormous climb up the hill. Yeah,
making their way around now. The Sabiba does boxes now. Jarno Opmeer is so close now, and is going to run wheel to wheel. Now alongside Benchabo Konyi, takes the lead on lap 68 into lap 69, through towards turn 1 into the center S's. Jarno Opmeer now leads here at Brazil in the Ironman League in WOR as part of Timbo's franchise too, and now making their way down the stretch again. Jarno dominance here this time around, and with 9-lap-old medium tyres, we'll look to bring it home and hosed with Benchabo Konyi, who has driven a superb race in second. Can Danny Berejne make it a Mercedes 1-2 before the end of play?
Yeah, I actually get the feeling that the soft tyres might have gone off a little bit too much at the moment, as coming straight back into things is Benchabo Konyi. So clearly he's got enough pace to keep up with Jarno Opmeer, who I think might be trying to slow down the Haas driver to allow Danny Berejne to close right back in. I think it's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, I think so, and you can see it from here now. Mercedes looking for that 1-2. The teamwork now becoming or taking centre stage. Danny Berejne has now got to within a second. He will have DRS as we now see them make the climb out of Junchao. So the teammate, the teamwork now on show here from Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berejne. And look at how Opmeer now is putting his foot to the floor because he knows that Berejne is now within Delta. He can now look to break away from Benchabo Konyi, allowing Danny Berejne to bring himself into the fight to potentially take a P2 away off the sensational job that was the sensational work that Benchabo Konyi has done. It looks like it's going to be for naught as we see Berejne in the distance 9/10 away from a potential P2.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to be completely honest. I don't like that from Jarno. I think that's like if you're in like championship finale era, you know, like we're coming into that, and it's all about that, that switch position and all the big drama. Like, then I kind of understand like trying to back him up. in round 2 of a championship like this, I'm not a fan of that. I think that's really unnecessary. But yeah, it is what it is. We'll see if Danny Berejney can find his way past fair and square, as there is absolutely no assistance from Jarno Uppmeer. Penultimate lap of the race, heading on to the final one. I mean, Uppmeer's been sensational through the day. There's been such an up and down order. Again, take a screenshot from what, lap 30, take a screenshot from lap 10, take a screenshot from like 20 laps ago, and take a screenshot now. The order is completely different in every single one, which is what's made this such a fantastic race.
Well, here we go, making their way down through towards turn 1 this time around. Again, this time, lap 70 of 71. This will become the final lap, though, of the race. Penultimate lap has come to an end. Here comes Berejney in towards turn 1 now, wheel to wheel very soon, I'm sure, with Ben Charbonnet, who's put up a tremendous fight and has given absolutely everything on those hard compound of tyres. It has been a true mission on his part. Is he going to keep Berejney at bay? He goes defensive. Berejney, though, is going to certainly hand it to him as they make their way through towards turn 4, wheel to wheel. Great display from Ben Charbonnet. He goes late on the brakes to try and hold the place away from the Hungarian. Can't quite get through here, Danny Berejney. Ben Charbonnet pulling everything out of the tyres. A switch back from Berejney. The Hungarian giving it everything. The final lap of the race has erupted here like a volcano, but wheel to wheel they remain. But Berejney has done it.
Yeah, brilliant move from Berejney. Just it was that up and under straight around the outside. Excellent scenes. It becomes a Mercedes 1-2 as one final corner beckons for Jarno Uppmeer.
Yeah, brilliant stuff indeed. But what a finish from this man, Jarno Uppmeer. We call him the Flying Dutchman for good reason. It's a last to first in the Ironman League. Jarno Uppmeer wins at Brazil in truly grand style. 3 seconds clear of Danny Berejney, his teammate, a Mercedes 1-2. An amazing number of pit stops. If we look at the number of compounds, he used 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 compounds used throughout the entirety of this race. A game of chess that has granted Mercedes splendour here after 71 laps of racing. Ben Charbonnet take a bow, a stupendous P3, keeping the 2 Ferraris in behind.
Yeah, again, like I say, brilliant effort, but I mean, you got to say the drive from Uppmeer there was very impressive. I doubt it a little bit to the pit stop sequence, but that's fine. You're allowed to be wrong every now and then. And honestly, really impressive to have worked his way through. Like I said, the couple laps ago was a little bit meh, but Berejney put on a fantastic move, so you can't really deny it. It's a worthy Merc 1-2. They've worked their way through what has been a very difficult day on strategy and a very well-deserved race for them. Yeah,
amazing. And there we go. Jarno Uppmeer, your victor, everybody, and no doubt this will go a long way in terms of the championship fight. Of course, he did not quite have the same display back at Monza, of course, finishing P7 in that fight as well. And, of course, Danny Berejney finishing P4 ahead of him on that occasion too. So, whilst, of course, the Mercedes team did benefit off the back of decent points at Monza, they take the ultimate amount of points this time around here in the championship here at Brazil. It's been a splendid second race for them. And Jarno Uppmeer, 20th to P1, Berejney 18th to P2. It was just perfect, wasn't it, Lewis?
Yeah, and like I say, when it's been so difficult, I mean, they've literally been up and down the order all day, which is just what's been so exciting about it. The weather's really spiced things up, as you'd expect from Interlagos. It's what's made 2 consecutive excellent rounds of racing. And to be fair, it means that we just don't know where this championship's going to go.
No, the doors are wide open. Jarno Uppmeer there confirms your race winner, 26 points going to him as well. Taking the fastest lap of the race, incidentally, a 1:08.167 like we saw earlier on. What a lap that was. Danny Berejney in second. Ben Charbonnet in third. Great drive. A double Ferrari finish in fourth and fifth as well with Warren and Istvan Pukki. We'll talk driver of the day later on. Let us know in the chat as well as to who your driver of the day is. Milan Meyer in sixth. Zoltan Boda in seventh. Timbo in eighth. Takash Gabo in ninth as well with Jabosh Venchel in 10th place. Ben Siles in 11th. B. Danny in 12th. Norbert Charbonnet in 13th. Further down, let's take you through the final results. Zabagradsky, Gab, Zalen, Janos Villas, David Vincher, as well as Tamas Alroots and Vajda Gabor as well further down. Unfortunately, a few of those, though, getting with the incident. So there we have it. What a race, folks. And, the wet weather definitely played a paramount role, I would argue, Lewis. I mean, some of the stops were sensational. And plenty of daring moves in terms of strategy. If we look at how long Jarno was out on the softs, I mean, we were questioning whether he was actually going to box. I think it was just unreal how, of course, he was able to leave it so late, maintain the same gap regardless. I think that just goes to show that he is ultimately a tyre whisperer too.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to say, and I'll still stand by it. I'm sort of like looking at it, being like, from a strategical standpoint, I'm looking at Jarno's strategy, being like, surely if you'd have pitted early, you might have taken over the lead a little bit earlier. But clearly, Jarno Opmeer is a bit of a showman. He likes to do things last minute, likes to go on the attack last minute. And do you know what? Credit to him, he delivered us a very exciting race there and pieced himself together as a very worthy victor here. Wasn't quite so lucky back in the last round at Monza, but do you know what? I'm quite liking this starting from the back of the field stuff that those lot are doing. It's very exciting, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I was very impressed as well with Istvan Pukki. I thought he was fantastic. I mean, whilst obviously the points weren't necessarily there in terms of the higher up, results. I mean, obviously he finished where he did. Ferrari wasn't necessarily a brilliant day. They didn't get the podium they were looking for. Pukki finishing 5th. But hey, I thought some of the overtakes he was making were truly textbook, and credit to him for that. I also want to talk a little bit about Ben Occonier's strategy of going onto the hards when he did. When the rain stopped, he then ushered in his own illustrious set of laps, managing to maintain the pace levels in the hards for a good amount of time. And on any other day, you might have actually considered Ben Oconier as a potential race winner as well.
And it's kind of one of those ones where I'm looking at Ben Oconier thinking, there's a winner in here this season. There's absolutely a victory in the season for him, because the way that he's placed himself in the last couple of races, it's throwing himself along the Mercedes on the Ferraris. Now, of course, this is not like me saying as if like it's you or I battling with Jarno. Obviously, Ben Oconier is a pretty fast peddler himself. But it just seems like, that the consistency's there for the Haas driver, and it's shown very nicely.
Yeah, it certainly has. And obviously this does break up in the Championship 5. Of course, Dylan Warren finishing where he did in 4th. It's not the race win. It's not another podium. So he is going to have to come back in round 3 and look to usher in an improved result. But yeah, Pukki, reasonably consistent. P3 and P5. It's been pretty good for him. Ben Oconier, 2 podiums in a row. He's in a very good vein of form right now. Very interesting as well to see some of the other names that might not have featured this time around. We'll have to see whether they come back again in round 3, including your favourite, I'm going to say, Lewis, Danny McSala. What's he going to do?
Where's Chicken Tikka at? I want him back. I want next round. If you're watching, Danny Masala, I want you back on the grid. Only so I can make the joke. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, actually. Big fan of Danny McSala. Sorry. Big fan already. I mean, what an illustrious result. I want to hear as well from the chat as well. Driver of the days. Come on, let's hear what you guys have to say. I mean, Lewis, come on, call it. Who's yours?
Do you know what? I'm actually going to go. I'm going to stick with it. I said a bit earlier that I thought it might be Danny Berezne, and I'm going to stick with it. Part of me wants to say Ben Oconier, because that was a very impressive effort on the hard tyres. But for me, the reason why I'll lean towards Berezne is some of those moves. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to say Jarno Opmeer, and to be fair, kudos. A very impressive final stint. But some of the moves Berezne put on through the day, just honestly, they're top draw. Textbook. Who do you think?
I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you to a certain extent. I want to give Driver of the Day as well to Ben Oconier. I think for the strategy call, I think on any other day would have done it. I also think Istvan Pukki goes close, if I'm honest, as well. Because, I mean, I think Pukki's sheer determination, his drive, I thought was brilliant. It's just a shame because he started P2, lost 3 places in the process. So I think the strategy kind of let the Ferrari drivers down a little bit, which is quite ironic. I mean, especially when we consider obviously what happens to them generally in real life of Formula 1. And they did look to put in a stellar performance heading in the initial phase when they made that first stop, where they were then essentially in Ps1 and 2. And I thought, wow, they could be on for a good day here. But it just wasn't to be. I think, personally, unfortunately, Ben Oconier loses out, I would say, just due to the sheer fact that he finishes P3. My driver of the day goes to Jarno Opmeer, in my view. I think P20 to P1, he made all the right moves. I know it seems cheap because, of course, he is one of the best drivers in the world right now, but I think, without any shadow of a doubt, he deserves it. P20 to P1, and fastest lap, it doesn't get better than that.
Honestly, whether you're the best driver on the grid or the worst driver on the grid, if you put on a good display, you put on a good display, and Jarno certainly did so today. I say some concerns over the strategy, but the most important bit was that he ended up being on the right tyre at the right time, played the strategy card really well, didn't take any unnecessary major risks, and like I say, just worked his way through to a win, which is it's kind of one of those ones where you look and think, oh, yeah, I know one. Boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've always seen
yeah, we've seen it time and time again. Two-time champion.
Rewatch the race. Rewatch the race. You're like, oh, yeah, that's not a boring race at all.
No, not at all. I mean, even with the number of safety cars, everything that happened in between, absolutely stellar. But it doesn't look like we're going to have any interviews today, folks. I think some of the drivers obviously want to take a nap. So, yeah, it's not happening. But, yeah, in the meantime, why not check out the socials as well, folks, for the WOR. Of course, that's World Online Racing. Make sure you check them out on Twitter. And also leave a subscribe to this channel to make sure you stay tuned in to all the action that happens here at WOR. If you want to check me out as well, my name is, of course, George Morgan. You can find me down below, George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Lewis, where can they find you, my friend?
Lewis McGlade78. I apparently have a TikTok, but I only upload generally videos of me ripping into you on there. We're not going to talk about that. Obviously,
Amazing.
Instagram and
even I don't know they exist.
No comment. Don't worry. It's a very private, pure George Morgan hatred TikTok.
I love it. I love it. I endorse. Fantastic. Thank you ever so much, everybody. Thank you for all your continued support. I hope you all enjoyed that. Jarno Opmeer trailblazing once again in a Mercedes 1-2. A perfect day for the Mercs. Will they come back and do it again in round 3? We'll have to wait and see. Tune in next time when we go racing. Take care, folks. Goodbye.